everyone, and welcome back to Geekvolution After Dark. I am Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
And look, it's Vince!
And I'm still Vince.
Vince is going to join us for
I've been in that room for 7 years.
Yeah,
I have not been here that long. You haven't been gone that long.
No, I mean, I've been right there.
Yeah,
this whole time I've been hiding.
Stays in there. Yeah. It's weird, though, because it's impressive that you were able to hide there, because there's not even a door in that room.
I'm like the shadow. If you don't look directly at me, I just look
conveniently placed patches of darkness.
Do you have
That's
do
right.
you have like a bunch of people that you constricted into your network that you make do things for you because you saved their lives?
Why do you think you ever let Dan Torrey on your channel?
Vince, thanks for joining us.
My Burbank.
Vince has never been on After Dark and does not. I mean, we've explained it to him, but he didn't before today really know what we do on this show.
Oh, really?
And he's about to find out. Vince, you can do anything you want to on this show.
And you're the second guest after Dan Torrey.
See, you can do that.
We originally were going to have more people on. We've only ever had Dan Torrey on.
We had Dan, and that was it.
That was it. We had Dan Torrey on.
Have we not ever had anybody else?
We've never had anybody else.
And do we never have CJ?
No, we
CJ
never had CJ.
We've never had anybody else.
No, it makes sense because CJ got shit-faced on the channel.
Damn,
but no,
that's crazy.
No, CJ has never done After Dark.
No, what I love about... I almost said what I love about people, but I guess it's just me and you and Dan that one time, and now Vince this one time after 33 shows.
Yep.
I was going to say, Vince, that my favorite thing about what you just did is that technically people paid to see that, which is wonderful. Thanks, as always, to our patrons for your support. Thanks a lot for your monetary contribution and, of course, watching the channel. We sure appreciate everybody. You guys are absolutely wonderful, and you guys help keep this thing going and keep it alive. We're going to put an hour on the clock, and we're going to chat about whatever random things we have put on our phones. At some point, I'm going to make Vince do something. That is a thing that will happen. That is in my phone. And Vince even has a topic or two that he's going to bring.
I wrote a couple things down.
That he's going to bring to us. So here we go. Putting 1 hour
we could rapid fire through a couple.
on the clock. And let me go ahead and knock out the Patreon question for today. One of our $15 patrons asked us to talk about something tonight. And here it is.
$15, you can make us talk about something after dark.
Yeah,
Getting that.
that is.
These are called context clues.
Lone Wolf Jedi of Gotham.
You're a little slow on the uptake, so I just want to make sure that you understood.
Oh, hold on. I copied the wrong thing. Give me a second.
Well, while he's doing that, I'll tell you a quick story.
Is that just his social security number and address?
Yeah, he. I'm glad you interrupted me because I almost read all of that. And I probably should not.
Yeah, I used to print that in comic books.
You know what's nuts?
What?
If you go to Facebook, during elections, at least in Kansas, they give you, at the top of the page, they're like, know who you're voting for.
Do they give you their address?
They give you the, not only office address and the office number, but the home address and the home number of all of the candidates, primary and the people who make it the general.
That's really dangerous on the internet.
So I looked at that and went, holy shit, and...
and you immediately start prank phone calling.
My thought was, well, if I called one of these guys that had the power and said, hey, yeah, Mrs. So-and-so, do you realize that your home phone number is printed on Facebook? Seriously, we should shut Facebook down for doxing you. Now, that being said, I accidentally did it. There was a guy who said
accidentally called someone?
No, I didn't accidentally call someone. I accidentally posted some information.
That sounds suspicious.
There was a Kansas legislator who said some really awful shit about, well, whatever. I'm not going to repeat it because it upsets me, and then I'll be upset. But, so he said some really racist shit, and people started posting about it online, at least all my Kansas friends.
I wanted to keep clarifying and getting more and more specific.
And it's at the end of the day, so he said some horrible shit, and I posted what I thought was his office information. I just went to Kansas blah blah blah.gov and found his phone number, just highlighted the whole section, copied and pasted, and said, if you don't like the fact that he said that, give his office a call. And then I got 6 messages from people in these message boards saying no home addresses, no home addresses, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Home address. It was on the website. And then I looked through and I just copy and pasted the section. Obviously, I didn't bother to read the whole thing. And it said office, home. And I went, why would
Why would you post that?
Why would you post that? Like,
That seems really dangerous.
I had the mistake
wouldn't
of
do
putting
that.
my phone number on Facebook.
now,
and
to be fair, I'm not an idiot. I assumed that home meant like the hometown office,
oh.
and office meant the Topeka office.
Don't
So
politicians sometimes make a statement with that, where they're like, "I care so much about my constituents, like you can call me at home." Like,
that seems dangerous as shit.
I think so.
That
too,
seems like
but-
real 60s, 70s politics. That doesn't sound like social media politics.
Yeah. Does it really translate now?
I mean, I do like calling my congressman, but it seems like an insane thing to call them at home.
Do you call them at home?
No.
Did you ask them if the refrigerator's on?
I'm like, do you have Prince Albert in your can? It's because you're taking a toilet break and you're taking it with you.
Have you guys thought about that? That like we have a bunch of kids growing up now, for whom the prank call is a foreign concept.
No, it's not.
Is it not?
No, it's still a thing.
They still do it?
Yeah. Well, you got Battletoads phone calls.
Well, yeah, but not homes. They don't call like
Oh,
people
yes.
at home. They'll call businesses.
You're right. You're right.
But like when I was a kid, I had a babysitter that used to crank call like random people out of the phone book. Like
Sure.
And you see it in movies through the '90s constantly.
Caller ID must have ruined that.
That's-
you can call them right back
yeah.
and block their numbers. And
Well,
but,
Star
like,
69.
People were still doing it even with that stuff because there were like ways around it, or they
Star
would just
69.
take the risk. But like
Or Star
now,
79, I think
but
Star
now
69
everybody's got a
is
cell
what
phone.
it is.
Like phone books are pointless. Like
Yeah.
most of us don't even have our phones listed.
It's bizarre.
Right.
It's been bizarre at every job I've ever worked.
I think it's weird that phone books are still a thing.
that's another thing.
Well, it's
We could write this
bizarre for me
topic
that
down.
people have walked into my place of establishment.
I don't know why I bothered
My-
writing
my
topics
work.
down.
People have walked in and said, "Do you have a phone book?" I don't have a fucking phone book.
Do you have
What
Google?
are you talking about?
I don't need a yellow pages. I just type in physical therapist and then find absolute. And that's something that's fascinating. If you type in physical therapist, you will not necessarily find. I mean, you will, but you will find more things than just physical therapy clinics. You know what you'll also find? The home addresses of physical therapists. What? That's something that irritates. And for a while, I feel like I might have gotten it under control because I was getting phone calls from people like, "Hey, you need to fully register your business with Google." I'm like, no, because I don't have a business. I'm like, don't you understand that I'm not a physical therapist? I work underneath a physical therapist. I'm a person who is by nature an employee. And they went, but you need to register your business with Google. I said, get off my ass. I'm not going to register a business I don't have with Google. Stop calling me. So they call me every so often.
Especially because that would be against protocol with your job.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't have
Like
a business.
if you registered a business, they'd be like, "Why are you pretending to be like a separate business from us?"
Well,
Why-
look, I want Google to stop calling me.
So I will give them your address. Well, I'm not going to say where I work, considering depending.
Yeah, no, you don't have to do that. But like, but no,
Work for Warner Brothers.
Can you imagine that if just to get Google off your back, you declared a sole proprietorship?
You're wearing a Disney copyrighted Punisher shirt.
That's
And a
hilarious.
Disney copyright Rocketeer necklace.
Okay, so our Patreon question does not come from Lone Wolf Jedi of Gotham after
Oh,
all.
everything's wrong.
No.
Bye, Lone
it's-
Wolf
it's-
Jedi.
Yeah. But
Sorry.
I want to thank Lone Wolf Jedi of Gotham for everything he's
You've
done
been
for
a
the
great
channel,
participant.
But he did not ask a question this time. It's actually a Big Blue Boy Scout, and he's a recent patron, so thanks for joining us, buddy. When adapting a pre-existing work, and this is a thing, by the way, that you and I have talked about frequently on the channel, so we'll just touch on it again. But Vince hasn't talked about this, so here we
I know
go.
how to talk.
Or if
This
he,
is-
he has, it hasn't been.
It was a very
Last
long
time.
time ago, and he certainly wasn't
may
talking
have-
about the more recent things that are listed here.
Oh, sure.
This is a lengthy question, so let me go ahead and read this. When adapting a pre-existing work, do writers or directors have an obligation to stay true to the core of the piece they are adapting? The big example that comes to mind is Zack Snyder and his handling of Superman and Batman. In that case, Snyder seemingly went out of his way to strip those characters of their traditional values. What we're left with is two characters called Superman and Batman, whose only resemblance to their comic counterparts is that they're two guys in tights and capes. Famously, the novel Starship Troopers is a straightforward military fantasy with a right-leaning edge. The film, an outright satire of the book it's based on. I don't know if you agree with that.
No, it is.
Okay,
It
because
seems
I know
like
that it's a
tongue-in-cheek
satire.
propaganda.
But I know it's a satire, but I don't know anything about the book, so I wasn't sure if you would call it a satire of the book.
I've not read the book personally. My understanding is that he is very right wing, bordering on fascist, and then it's a satire of those principles.
Of those ideas. And then he says, I'm not coming down on one side or the other here, just curious to hear your and Eric's and Vin's thoughts on the matter. So,
I'm sorry you didn't want this.
Let's go ahead and get into that then.
Sure. I think there are kind of two different things when it comes to adapting. Because adapting something like Batman and Superman is very different than adapting something like a novel.
Or Watchmen.
Yeah, where you're
Or
adapting
something
a
wholly
single
unknown.
piece of like to me they're like.
But he's not. Yeah, you're adapting the character, but not adapting a story. Is what.
Yeah,
you're talking about.
yeah. So that's different because you're looking at a lot of things, and I've always said like I'm more okay with Batman Returns if Batman Returns is a comic book because it's one of many variations on that character, whereas in the movie it's the representation of that character to the mainstream audience.
You're right. Yeah.
It's more in my mind the way I feel is you are more obligated to represent and not experiment and put your own stamp on it. Is my knee-jerk reaction. I'm not saying that's necessarily my opinion. My knee-jerk reaction is I don't give a shit what your Batman is. You bring Batman to the screen.
But yeah, you're right. It is two different things, right? It's it's representing the whole spirit of a thing versus adapting a story wholesale. And so, but I think most of what he's talking about is less adapting a story and more.
But Starship Troopers is one story.
Yeah, no, it's weird that he mentions that example because with the Batman Superman thing,
maybe he's interested in both ideas.
Yeah, sure. But with the Batman Superman thing, it's not about like the story points of a particular story. It's about can you call those guys Batman and Superman if they don't seem to have the ideologies that those characters have, or they're not about the same principles, whatever. Like, at what point does it stop being Batman?
Well, we've talked about that.
And you and I have talked about that a lot. Yeah.
Well, my only issue with it becomes when you are looking at the trajectory of what you create this one character to be. So if we're looking at it within the context of a franchise, and it has to be Batfleck, and it can't be something else.
Would you
Then yes, it is.
Would you take issue with a Punisher film where Punisher has to be pacifist and can't kill anybody?
Well, yeah, but then it's you're just calling it the Punisher. It's not.
But I think that's how some people. But I think that's how a lot of people feel about Batfleck.
And especially Superman.
Yeah.
There's, to some extent, I'm like, well, you can take a movie and you can just ruin the movie by putting things like there were some of these weird passages of tongue-in-cheek dialogue in Justice League where I'm like, this does not feel diegetic to the scene or the characters. I realize that's a musical term, but
that's because they're overcompensating for the Marvel thing.
Yeah, there's a whole sure. Well, and also overcompensating for the fact that it was a Snyder movie, and now they don't want it to be a Snyder movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
hashtag release a Snyder cut.
Yeah, there's a whole there's a bunch of company politics behind why what you said is true. But yeah,
Punisher's a terrific example. I feel like because we've had so many versions of him, and even within the comic books, within just a few years of each other, we've had radically different versions. So you look at television, and is he a Marine or is he a cop? Well, in one he's a cop, or television, movies, whatever, live action. So in one he's a cop, and another one he's a Marine, and the next one he's a Marine who's connected to the CIA. And
in the Tom Jane one, he's like Black Ops, right? Or not Black Ops. He's like a secret, almost a secret.
Yeah,
agent.
that's a good point. So he would also be a part of the.
But he was in the military in the extended cut.
Yes.
But he's kind of a spy in that movie at the beginning because he's pretending to be someone else.
He's undercover. Good point. So he's not just.
He's at least running Vice. At the very least.
He is a part of the intelligence.
Right, but you wouldn't boil any character like this down to just what their job or background was, right? Like the core of the character is what he stands for and what he's.
But I think that's the point he was making, is that the background doesn't matter.
Sure.
Yes.
So I feel like there's a lot of leniency and a lot of leeway you can have for a single character and do something radically different, and so. It's okay in my mind, also because I feel like I'm going to see another Batman movie where it's really not like Affleck Batman at all, or even any of the other Batman that came out. So, like, well,
I think it's more difficult. I think it's more difficult in the first place. So, like Batman Returns, where it's like, I don't know if we're going to get another Batman movie. This is all we've got.
Okay, but also so I want to touch on a couple things you said. First of all, if you go back to when BVS was released, and when we thought it might have done better than it did, and that was the trajectory that Warner's was going, if they did what Marvel has done, it might have been a decade or decades before you got a reboot. So if you didn't think that those characters were true to their... And I know I bring this up...
You can only say this now, I think is what you're saying,
You can only say it now, yeah. Like, you wouldn't have said that in 2016 if this was problem for you, you'd be like, well, crap, we might be stuck with this for years. You know, and
It just means that I don't have to spend as much money going to the movie.
But like, I know I bring this up all the time, but this was the Star Trek problem for me with Abrams' Star Trek. It was okay. It's okay. I don't mind it. I'm enjoying this, but it's not really Star Trek. It's watered down, and it's not really science fiction, and it wants to be Star Wars. And it looked like that's what we were going to have for a long time. You see what I'm saying?
And it is what we're having for a long time.
Yeah, and we may never get real Star Trek again. So I mean, like, there are other things besides Batman where this is a problem. Like the at the core of Star Trek, it's no longer Star Trek, you know. And so but like, if those characters are represented and they keep like in Discovery throwing platitudes about, you know, inclusiveness and stuff, and saying the prime directive every other phrase, then it's you know it's Star Trek, we're close enough.
But '09 is a good example of this, I think, in something that adapts something almost so far away from the original material, but also representative of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Did it cross a line?
I mean, I feel like Vince does about this, which is why I brought this up, Vince, because it'd be fine if there was also like a real Star Trek TV show. Like, I wouldn't mind it so much, but it's the thing we got stuck with, and I don't think. And so, like, to Eric's point earlier, if you had one Punisher franchise where he was a pacifist who couldn't kill people,
and that was and that was the mainstream's understanding of that character.
Exactly, yeah, because like, I just think it's like not to attack you.
And in today's cyber world, they would also come at you and say, and the character in the comics is dumb, and they made him better.
Yeah, which was kind of a thing that we had with Thanos a little bit, where
I've never read it because the Thanos comic book, but he's dumb in the comics.
But he's dumb, and they fixed him finally in the movie, and I'm like, no, with Infinity War, like I was ready to be won over by a different version, but he didn't completely make sense to me, and the character in the comics does. So they didn't do my rule of, well, if it's better or it works, then I don't mind if it doesn't have to be just like this, and it doesn't have to be just like the source material. But if you're copping out, then that's a problem. And I just think, Vince, it's maybe a little bit of, again, I don't want to attack you, but I think it's a little bit of a cop
You're
out.
on trial now.
I think it's No. Let me finish this thought.
Right.
I think it's a little bit of a cop out on your part to say, well, as long as there is like some other version in the theater, okay, but that negates the first one in the first place. If it's not really Punisher, then you're just saying, okay, that one doesn't count, but at least I have a... So, like, you don't want that in the first place. You're not saying, well, it's okay as long as this... You would probably watch the good one and be like, well, there's that shitty one, but at least I have a good one. So, like, that cancels it out.
I do feel like there's kind of like an extreme version. The Punisher would never be a pacifist.
Batman would never kill.
He's a...
And I can point to the 5 movies where he does.
His name is not the non-killing Batman.
And Superman would never be a like perpetually in danger of becoming a fascist dictator either. And we did that, and we made that the mainstream Superman that everybody's watching. Because it's made by people who don't think Superman's cool enough to make Superman, so they're trying to edge him, to make him all edgy.
And Thanos would never be dumb, boring, and short-sighted.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe the Superman thing is connected to some of these Elseworlds or alternate universe things where...
No, I think it's connected to Zack Snyder's perpetual, like, 12-year-old boy, I have to do what's cool and gritty and dark thing.
Now, that is the cop-out.
Does he have any kind of hate for Superman where he wants to create...
No, I think he thinks he made a cool, sophisticated, smart Superman movie.
Yeah.
And then a cool, sophisticated, smart... Because remember, after BVS, his wife, who is also his producer, came out and said, what we learned from BVS is people don't want their heroes deconstructed.
Yeah.
They don't think that they made a fascist Superman. They think they were being introspective and examining that character.
You know, I haven't thought about it that much because I thought the movie was so irritating. I was like, I'm not watching that crap again. So,
but it got worse with BVS.
Yeah.
And so like, Vince, I get what you're saying. Like, there's an Elseworldsy type component to like, if things go the wrong way, like, here's this other version of the universe where he could turn into a fascist, whatever. But the thing to keep in mind is that wasn't a dream where he saw a possible future. That was the direction it was going if something didn't change. Like, that's what was gonna happen. When the parademons show up, Superman rules the fucking world. And that was the mainstream version they went with.
Boy, I don't remember this movie at all.
And that happens because he's raised wrong, and his parents don't actually want him to save anyone.
It's the worst Kents.
And it's the worst Kents ever, and because Superman only cares about Lois Lane. And the rest of the world can go to pot. And
It's a dangerously toxic relationship.
Yeah, and he is so insecure and not sure if he even belongs on the planet and doesn't even know if he cares about other human beings that his entire everything is connected to his like pretty two-dimensional, not very well developed love for one person. And if anything ever happened to her, he would lose his shit and take over the world.
Which is what we're told happens.
Now it is exactly. Now it is fine to do a story about how Superman tries to be perfect but can't be perfect, and to try to get and to say he could potentially be pushed to that place. Why doesn't he get pushed to that place?
That's injustice.
And that's injustice. And I like injustice. And it's an alternate thing.
Yeah,
and he gets pushed to like a crazy degree in that. Where like he's the one that
Superman, right?
and also what's interesting is I buy it okay in that universe, but it is because he kills Lois Lane.
He beats his pregnant wife to death, though. Like,
but because he thinks she's Doomsday.
I know, but a villain made him beat his pregnant. Like, it's different than if she dies. Like
Exactly.
BVS proposits, like if Superman the movie happens and she's like killed in like a cave in or whatever, an earthquake, Superman would lose his mind. It's way more understandable when you are tricked into murdering your pregnant wife.
Yeah.
Like that is way more understandable than what we do in BVS.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
they came up with the most extreme case possible. That's why it works so good.
But BVS doesn't.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
It's amazing.
He does it because he thinks it's cool.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's amazing how I shut down. Like, I guess all the Batman Superman fights, I was like, this is idiotic.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then I just stopped thinking about the rest of the movie.
Dude, I would have done the same thing if I weren't forced to, because this is what I do. You know what I mean? Like, we talked about it ad nauseum.
I just decided I was done and then didn't pay attention.
That's totally fair.
So,
absolutely.
I guess they do have an extreme version of Superman.
Well, like, to actually answer the question real quick, like, I think there are, like particular, like, ideals and traits with a lot of these characters, or really broad things where if you lose this thing, it's no longer that character, and it's weird to call it that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think...
If the Punisher does not punish, how is he the Punisher?
But he can punish without killing.
But if he is a pacifist, how does he punish?
Yeah, and that's why we came up with that extreme, because we've seen this with DC, okay?
Right.
And of course we're past that stuff now. But like theoretically, but that's
You're
what they
a pacifist.
were. But that's what they were doing. And so, like, you seem to think it was weird that we brought up a pacifistic Punisher, but we had a like could at any moment turn into a dictator Superman, okay? Like, it's not that crazy.
Which, I mean, I feel like that's what's really interesting about Superman, is that he could, but he doesn't. But,
right, exactly.
But then again, if he tries to, or he's leaning that way, that's freaky.
Yeah, or if he's teetering on the edge constantly.
Because that was, I never read it, but
he's not Superman if that's the case.
There's a moment in the novelization, I didn't read it, but somebody told me about it, where Superman and Superman Returns, the novelization, is flying above the world, listening down as he does in the movie, and the thoughts that are going through his head is basically, wow, I could take over this whole planet if I wanted to.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. But what I was going to say is, like, I think, like, Adam West Batman is the farthest you can go where I could still count that as Batman. Like, his parents still died in front of him, and that's why he became Batman. I think you always have to have that. And I think we can all, to some degree, draw different lines with this. Like, I think this is up to opinion to some degree.
Well, I think Adam West Batman, I think the reason that Batman is, you believe Batman is so elastic is because it happened so long ago.
And because that's what got it popular.
Yes.
In the first place.
Yes.
Or that
if
popular.
that wasn't the case...
we would not believe it.
Yeah, that is too far, I think. If it's not, like, it's almost like, if you made Adam West Batman today, and we'd never had that before, it's not Batman.
Like, Spider-Man has to be about responsibility.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have that, he's not Spider-Man. He can be any age you want him to be, he can have any background you want him to be, he doesn't even necessarily have to have Uncle Ben, and that's why, potentially, the Spider-Verse thing can be, and I was won over more by that idea with that movie. But if the point of it is not a responsibility thing, and if he starts from a noble place in the beginning, he's not Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. He's just not.
Like Spider-Man TV show.
Yeah, that's not what Spider-Man.
The 70s Spider-Man TV show is not Spider-Man.
So, like, if you just put a guy in a costume that looks like the one in the comics and you call it that, like, do we have to... do we have to give it credence and look at it just because
Do you have to do it for a decade while Spider-Man is not Spider-Man?
like I shouldn't be watching Discovery. It's not really Star Trek. I'm only doing it to talk about it. But
You're only doing it because it's called Star Trek.
Because it's called I say to talk about it, and also because I can't help myself because it's called Star Trek. But I just think it's problematic to.
We're controlled by corporations, and we can't do
Exactly.
anything about it.
Exactly. I think it's bad to give things credibility just because a company owns it and they put the name of it on.
Oh, and
there.
season 3 got renewed, by the way. Did you hear that?
Son of a.
Yeah. It's already been renewed for a 3rd season.
I'm sorry. Can you give me a second? Fuck.
Yeah.
I really thought it was getting canceled. I really thought it was done.
It's been renewed for a 3rd season.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry they did one to break.
Excuse my outburst.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Anyway, did you want to?
No, and actually, that springboards me into one of my topics.
Oh, okay, sure.
Do you have a topic? Yeah. What's your topic?
The oversaturation of certain characters that I collect that's annoying the fuck out of me.
You can't do it all.
Because you have to buy all of it.
Because I decided at one point that I was going to get it all, and I just keep buying everything. And there are 2 characters right now. One that I don't understand why they have 3 titles running concurrently, and
Who has 3 titles running concurrently?
Zorro.
Really?
Yeah. And what's weird is that they've released, now at this moment I forget, it's either 1 or 2 issues of Zorro Swords of Hell. They have announced Zorro Sacrilege that is about to come out, and Zorro Legendary's Adventures is the only one that actually hits the dates that it's supposed to release.
Are they all monthlies though, or are they minis?
Two of them are minis.
But that's on Dynamite.
Okay, but is it that big of a deal if there are that many running concurrently? if they're
Well,
just
you guys are just exhausting your ability to actually print these things, and why don't you print one and then get the next one?
Well, Dynamite tends to stagger, so with the James Bond books, they'll usually have 2 running at the same time, but they don't start the same month. So it'll be 3 issues into one, we start another one, so they're always kind of perpetually moving.
I don't feel like this is a thing that's going to last. I feel like this is from a thing that's like American mythology.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm if you put out, look at Dynamite, man. You put out Zorro.
Well, Dynamite's doing James Bond. That's
fair enough.
Yeah.
But Dynamite used to put out Zorro, and they no longer do it. Now there's a thing called American Mythology that's doing it. And,
I didn't realize they'd switch publisher.
Yeah, and Swords of Hell is okay. It's by David Avalone, or Avalone.
Okay. So what you just said doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I guess not.
So they switched companies, and now they have one that is they have one that is old Zorro stuff that's being reprinted, that is translated from whatever language it was in, and
well, that seems like a different thing to me.
Which is okay. I'm kind of it comes out monthly. That's fine. But then they also
just complaining because it's eaten into your pocketbook, or because it's
a little bit.
Okay.
But also because I feel like here's this American mythology that has bought up a property and is now going to blow its wad and have the inability to get interest in it.
But isn't that all Dynamite does?
Well,
John Carter,
Green Hornet.
Green Hornet, The Shadow.
The books.
The Spider was only 1 book though. They didn't, and I loved it.
They haven't done the Spider in years though.
Well, that's because nobody bought it. But this is what they do: is they make a line of books, no one buys them, and then they move on.
Yeah.
They're not making Shadow comics anymore. They're not making Doc Savage comics anymore because they made mostly subpar ones. And they're just
Dynamite released those titles in a way that made sense. So
you think so?
I got all of my, not necessarily in a way that made sense people are going to buy these, but more hey, we have this story, you write it, you draw it, or you write it and draw it, and we're going to release it, and then we're going to be done. But then you get to something like American mythology.
Are they all ongoings?
And
no, he said they were minis.
Oh, yeah.
But then you get something that is a small press that no one's ever heard of, that is going to release half of a story, and I'm never going to get the rest because nobody gives a damn.
Oh, you think they're going to stop in the middle of it?
They are 3 months past the release of number 2, and I'm why are you announcing Sacrilege before you have finished Swords of Hell?
No, if they're late, you're absolutely right. We didn't realize that they were late.
Same thing where there was this Phantom, although it was just 1 issue. Hermes Press, I think it was, did the first issue of the Phantom Kennedy's mission or something like that.
I would read the shit out of that. Yes.
So they released
halfway
this
through
book,
you find out that Kennedy was a mutant.
and it was literally 1 issue. They didn't release anything else. It's been a year and a half. And same thing with Cole Eternal. They released 2 issues, or was it 3? I forget. And then they were supposed to release 3 more, and then they decided they were going to release an annual, and they didn't even release that. And I'm so if you're a small press and you're just throwing books out there, why don't you just use the books that you finished? Or ask them to finish it before you release it.
Are you annoyed that you have to buy? Was it Savage Avengers? Do you know about that?
And that's the other part. Punisher.
So this is what's great about Savage Avengers. You and I are both going to have to buy that book for stupid fucking reasons. Because you buy everything Punisher and I buy everything Venom. And Conan's in that, but I also buy everything Venom.
How do you feel about Conan being in the Marvel fucking universe?
I'm annoyed that as he's going to be in Savage Avengers. Because he should be a time-locked thing.
Yeah.
And anything that brings him into the current universe should be a what-if.
Yeah,
And
I agree with that.
And
that's what we always used to do with him, right?
But then you both have to buy. You both have to buy that
Wolverine,
book, and it's probably not gonna be good.
I just think it's really funny that we both have to buy that for the same stupid reason.
I don't
think we've ever had this where like, well, no, there are some things that we both. Have.
Thunderbolts has had both Punisher and.
I don't have those. But
okay.
I guess
and
I
Agent
have, but that was. Oh, you know what? I think that was going on.
Well, Thunderbolts was okay. It kind of derailed after a while.
I guess I do have to
Agent
get at
Venom
some
was
point,
great,
but yeah, of course.
So Punisher is the other half of this, where I'm like, it's the friggin' 90s again, where I have to buy everything because everything has the Punisher in it. So he's going to be in War of the Realms. There's going to be a one-shot that comes out for War of the Realms.
What the fuck is he doing in War of the Realms?
I don't know. And then they have a War of the Realms, the Punisher 3-issue mini. Then we have the Punisher. Then we have Savage Avengers. And I'm like, well, how many friggin' Punisher books am I going to have to buy? It irritates me.
But at least they're minis.
Yeah, I'm hoping they don't start shoving him in anything else, because I don't understand why he's in so much stuff.
Just be glad he's not a Deadpool person.
You know, it might be good, but right now, the Punisher stuff that's coming out is not good.
Yeah.
And it's not the worst thing that
What's
the Punisher
the last time you liked the Punisher? In the
Aaron?
comics? Jason Aaron's...
And you know what? Greg Rucka's stuff was pretty good. And I forgot that
I
came
read
out
the first
after
couple
it.
issues of that and did not care for it because it's not a Punisher book.
Well, it's not a traditional Punisher book.
It's the thing Rucka does in everything where it's like, oh, I'm going to go write this book. Oh, it's a male protagonist? I'm going to put a female in there and she's going to be way more important.
She was way more interesting, too.
Yeah, but that's what he did on Batman. He comes on Batman and gives Batman a bodyguard and it becomes about that chick. And like, I loved Greg Rucka. And I think
but
he's a great
I did
writer.
not think she was that interesting. Sasha Bordeaux.
But you're also at the but you read the murderer stuff, and that's kind of when
Maybe
he's
she's
checked
cooler
out.
before that?
I think she might be better before that. I've read some stuff with
the
her.
Punisher has had an entourage for a while. There was a female Punisher. There was a
Lady Punisher.
Yeah, there was
There's also a female.
Oh
Venom.
heck, I can't remember the name of the British fella.
Now I want to do a paper on all the things that are the same about Venom and Punisher.
But so they both have a very similar color theme or scheme rather. If you actually use the word.
And they're both very popular in the 90s.
And they have that what if where Venom took over the Punisher. Vince and I reviewed that a long time ago.
Yeah. So that irritates the hell out of me,
I like that one as well.
I'm tired of buying stuff where they're just shoving the guy in. But am I going to keep buying it? Probably. Cosmic Ghost Rider the mini was okay, but the first issue or two or however many is out of Guardians of the Galaxy
do you have to buy those?
Yeah, that's what I have been doing because he's Frank Castle.
Because it is Frank Castle. Yeah.
That's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
If you collected Spider-Man, I wouldn't expect you to collect Spider-Man 2099.
Well,
I guess he's not Peter Parker now, is he?
No, that's different. Yeah. No, this is actually a version of Frank Castle.
I mean, I do collect Doctor Doom.
I
did collect Doom 2099.
Okay, if you collected Amazing Spider-Man, I wouldn't expect you to collect Ultimate Spider-Man.
Okay, but remember, Vince has always collected any appearance of the Punisher. He doesn't collect a book.
Sure.
He collects the character.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's not this. It's not the same thing.
You've made dumb decisions in your life.
And same thing with Rocketeer. Same thing with.
But Rocketeer makes more sense. I guess Zorro makes more sense.
But in his defense, again, I do this with Venom. I do this with
you're also dumb.
I'm also dumb.
I drew a line in the sand for Zorro because I read Don McGregor's Dynamite book, and it was.
Is that any good?
No, it is. So friggin', I'm going to ruin it for you. There's a moment in Don McGregor's Dynamite book that he just completely lost me, where it was Zorro Matanzas. And
you've complained about this before.
Where Zorro's father gets rammed through the chest by a bull, leaves a hole this big. They patch him up and he survives. I'm like, what kind of miracle of science did a thing that would kill a man today keep that person alive?
The Arrow Season 3 did.
Wow.
Granted, I mean, sure, it would kill a man today, but we might actually have the ability to patch them up today.
But they had more willpower back then?
That's right. They were tough as nails, and they were shitting bricks.
Oh, so he got a Green Lantern ring momentarily.
They looked kittens in the eyes before they ate them for breakfast.
Yeah.
Take that, you delicious, cute beastie.
So what is it going to take to get you to finally stop throwing your money away on Punisher things you don't even want to read?
I don't know.
Probably nothing?
There's a possibility that now that I'm paying attention more to politics and history and that I'm starting to see things reflecting from current culture that is kind of shit. in my Punisher stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if I go back and I read that other stuff, will I suddenly recognize the forces of the world informing the character that I was reading?
Yeah.
And then I go, fuck it, I'm done. I can't have a non-biased opinion and read this as escapist fiction anymore. So if that's the way it's going to be from here on out, then I'll be like, well...
You can move to the Executioner.
that's fair. But they did the same thing with the Executioner. Like, the whole...
Oh, I'm sure that's politically drenched in, like, 60s and 70s politics.
So the thing about it is that I read things that I end up having an opinion on, and I don't actually align with a political party. So I have what I consider to be, because, it's my opinion, a very realistic view of the world.
Okay, hold on, wait. So, if you went back and read, like late 80s and early 90s Punisher is very in line and lockstep kind of with, like, Reagan politics, especially when it comes to drugs, where, like, almost every story is Microchip being like, listen, Frank, they got, like, Cuban crack. It's super crack. It'll one hit and you're addicted for life. Go get him, Frank.
Yeah.
Will you go back and... Because I go back and I read something like that and I'm like, that's fucking hilarious.
I might.
But do you go back and you're like, fuck.
Because I don't know about what's going on with today's kids, but I grew up in DARE era where we had people coming to school and talking about destructive decisions and stuff. And when I started reading those comics, I'm like, oh, that's really funny. But, so... Some of that stuff I let slide off my back, and it might be like.
And I don't think you're gonna go back to the Ennis stuff and find that kind of.
Yeah, I hope not, because that stuff was great.
It's
Same
great.
thing with Aaron.
Which I've not read, but yeah.
So some of that later Punisher stuff was terrible, but it was still entertaining.
Which later Punisher?
The stuff before he had like 3 concurrent running series.
Right. And Chuck Dixon's writing all of them, and has been writing them for a decade.
Wait, who?
Chuck Dixon.
Right. Although some of Chuck Dixon's earlier Punisher stuff.
No, I'm sure it is,
bad.
but he wrote 3 books for like 7 years.
And then when these things started weaving in, and the moment that I was like, wow, I can't believe I actually read all this, was when he blew up a building, and I'm like, how many innocent people did you just kill, Frank?
Yeah.
Like you...
No, he always scopes it. He always knows...
Sure, there isn't a single innocent person who's just sweeping the floors.
No, he knows.
He sends a letter. He's like, hey, don't show up to work today. Well, I'll get fired. You're not going to have to worry about that.
But does Punisher ever have that thing where he's like, well, if you're working for bad people and you're working for bad people, then you're a bad person and it doesn't matter if I take you out? Like,
I think it depends on the version of the Punisher, because some of these things he's like, you're innocent and... you're just a victim of circumstance.
Like, the Garth Ennis Punisher would not give a shit because he just needs an excuse to kill people because he likes doing it, but he'd feel bad if he killed good people. So if you're working for Disney, he will not care. He'll just, like, what's that one where he just goes after the people that are, like, stock exchangers? You know where there's that guy and he's, like, fucking the boss's daughter? You know what story I'm talking? It's one that follows slavers. But, like, those guys are just, like, businessmen that are kind of shady, and he has no problem murdering them.
Which, there's also...
Oh, it's Barracuda. It's the first Barracuda story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ennis, he doesn't have a problem standing up and soapboxing.
No.
So,
and I think his politics is fascinating because he's not on any side. He's just angry.
Well, although, the book you gave me for Christmas, I finished it.
How is it?
It's... The scary stuff is interesting. There's one guy in there who's kind of obnoxious, and he has valid points. But I'm like, this is a soapbox for Garth Ennis to stand up and say things about. It hasn't always been this way, but then you have these other people who are like, but
is the horror stuff good? Because that's the reason I bought it.
Isn't there a really? Because I wanted to ask you about this. Isn't there a really fine line sometimes where it's hard to tell where the line is between that and social commentary? Because when you say that. When you say like I don't want to go back and see like the way the world was informing these characters, it almost sounds like you're asking no one to ever do social commentary, which is not what you're doing.
No, I'm not saying that. There are things like I think Black Panther is very politically interesting, and but there are certain things where
well, you have to write what you know, and you have to talk about the world that you live in.
But I think there's a difference between having a sock puppet that says what you believe. And like what
and
Peter
exploring
David,
the ideas.
Yeah, and what Peter David has always done, which is he makes 2 different characters of 2 opposing opinions and kind of explores them in the narrative.
And then he allows you to make up your own mind.
Yeah, there's a whole issue in Supergirl where Peter David has like a rally where someone's there saying that black people are inferior to white people and their brains are smaller, and Steel shows up to try and like take this guy out, and Supergirl's like, now hold on a second. He has a right to say what he thinks, and it's not about what Peter David thinks. It's about these two characters working out what they think is right.
You know, that's a good point.
Because it's such a gray area.
Yeah. As opposed to a sock puppet showing up and saying, women have so much that they can be taken away from them.
Always overly simplified.
Yeah.
So
that happened in the middle of an Avengers issue that Mark Waid wrote, by the way.
That was, I have to say, where I stopped with his run. Yeah.
Mark Waid is sometimes amazing, and then Mark Waid is sometimes a fanboy.
One day I will read one of these amazing Mark Waid comics everyone tells me about.
Well, I don't think you've read any. See, he doesn't like Kingdom Come.
I don't like Kingdom Come.
That's the thing. Is I think the Mark Waid he's read, he doesn't like. And I don't know if I can hand him a thing he would like. I don't know if you. I don't even think he'd like his Daredevil at this point.
My problem.
If I could hand it to you without Mark Waid's name on it, maybe you would like it. I'm not sure.
Before he became like the political pariah that he is to me right now.
Sure.
Before that.
No, but you didn't like him before. You didn't like his writing.
No, I've always found him boring, and I have trouble connecting with him. I have a similar thing with Kurt Busiek. But
oh man, Busiek's Conan's great.
I'm sure it is.
Well, what was it? Birthright.
Birthright was bad.
Like we didn't like it.
No, it was bad. But my problem with Kingdom Come...
You sold your trade of that to me to sell at a flea market booth.
Yeah, I was never going to read it again.
You were never going to read it.
It took me like 10 years to read it in the fucking first place, and I only did because we had to do it for the channel.
And people love it, but like, I don't get it.
I don't either.
It's boring.
My problem with Kingdom Come, now I've not read Kingdom Come in about a decade. Maybe a decade and a half at this point.
I've been thinking about reading it soon.
My problem with Kingdom Come is that Kingdom Come is simultaneously a criticism and love letter to the comics of the 90s. They're so above these super serious, violent... comics, but they're making a super serious, violent comic. It's like we're better than all those dumb people that just shoot things and like try and sound smart. Well, they just blow things up and sound smart.
Boy, I didn't get that from it at all. Okay. But and it has been a long time.
It's been a long time since I read it.
But
I remember that being like Gog is.
But you thought
like
it was gratuitous about it? Because it was
hypocritical.
Because it is about but it's about violence. I don't know how that's hypocritical unless it's reveling in it, and I don't know that it was. Like
maybe that's fair. I haven't.
And you read all kinds of things that like seem to revel in violence, but are also about violence that you don't have that problem with.
There's a snootiness to it that bothers me.
Okay.
Where it's just like
it insists upon itself.
Yeah, you're like Magog's supposed to be like Cable and like stuff like that. It's like we're so much better than all these '90s comics. I'm like, well, you are. You are clearly better illustrated and better written. But like, I don't know. There's something pretentious.
Was it about how much better it was, or was it about how it is a problem that stuff is so gratuitous, and they're trying, and that book is trying to have some actual consequences for superheroes just doing whatever the hell they want to, because that was about a future where there's a bunch of people calling themselves superheroes that are not heroic. I mean, that was the point of that book.
You're talking like 16-year-old me at this point. Like I don't really know. I can tell you what I thought when I read it, which was it seemed hypocritical.
Well, I haven't read it since I was in my early 20s. I don't know.
Yeah, go back and read it. We'll figure it out.
Sure.
Same here. I haven't read it since I was in my early 20s.
Yeah. And it's a faster read than some of the other stuff we've been reading.
Well, and Marvel's I liked a lot. Like which is right around. Oh no, Marvel's is Kurt Busiek. Marvel's not
Kurt Busiek. Yeah.
It's also Alex Ross. Yes.
Kurt Busiek can't take a compliment.
Can you not?
No, I told him. I complimented him when I met him on Marvel's and told him how special that book was to me, and he just did not know what to say to me. It was really funny.
Well, that's weird because that's like kind of the biggest thing he's done.
I complimented him on Twitter, and he was very nice.
Well, maybe he's just weirder in person.
I would bring him
and he was really nice to me. It's just he didn't know what. It's like he just didn't say anything. It was weird. He just didn't know what to say to that. Like he took a selfie with me. He was really cool. But
I don't love his Iron Man run, but I'd get him to sign that omnibus.
Oh, what's funny? I don't know. I would love to actually talk to him, but like I saw him for a few minutes, but we took a selfie and I posted on Facebook, and everybody said that he looks like me in like 25 or 30 years.
Oh, I've never actually seen him.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure his Twitter pic is of one of the characters from one of his books.
He also got in trouble a couple of years ago for basically shitting all over Marvel and DC right now. Where he was like...
Was he right?
No, he's 1,000% right. Where he talked about... It's a lot of percent.
It's impossible!
Where he talked about how Marvel and DC have just thrown their hands up in the air and don't... Well, and he's talking about Marvel because he's a Marvel guy, but like... Yeah. They do not give a shit about continuity, and what is the fucking point for him continuing to buy these books that he's not even reading, because in case maybe he might work there and have to catch up, but it doesn't even matter, because they don't care whether you match anymore.
Yeah, I can't disagree. Like, I still read stuff because if the stories are good, I can look past it.
And he
But
also
it is
complains
annoying
about
that we're
the
that
decompression.
lazy about it because they still make a big deal out of continuity, and they still want you to read everything, and it's
But that's
expensive
because
to
they want
do that.
They don't want you to read everything. They want you to buy everything.
Which is why variant covers and all in all of that stuff.
But and he also complained about decompression, where he said he read the first arc of Hickman's Fantastic Four, and he said everyone said it was like the best thing ever, and I read it, and I felt like it could have been done in a third of the issues.
Some of that is taste.
Well,
There
some
are
of
people
that's
that write more slow burn.
sensibilities. Yeah.
But no, I was just gonna say I can't remember what it was I was watching. I watched something the other day that had a really funny joke where it was like it was doing the really typical sports thing where it was a sports team and the coach was like, give 110%, and somebody was like, that's impossible. You can't give more than 100%. You only have 100%, and I thought that was really funny.
That's funny. Take 10 of his.
Do I get a topic?
So
Would you like it? Would you like
Sure.
topic?
I don't even remember what my topics are at this point.
Well, let's find out. Yeah.
I'm getting
No,
less inebriated.
of course
tonight.
you get a topic. I'm sorry.
Okay. So this is a
I was
thing.
just curious to see what it was.
This is a thing I've started noticing, and part of it's a lot anecdotal because of where I work.
Did you even hear what he
I
said?
did not.
I looked over at your phone and said, that's a lot of porn.
It is a lot of porn.
Anyway, sir, I'm still listening.
And you would be surprised by the combination of phrases I use to find that porn. Because it's not easy. You have to pair word scales that the search engine searches just right.
He's got cross-references.
Is that your topic? Is that what you wrote down?
No. No, this is... So part of this is 100% anecdotal. Because
10% alien.
yeah, it's 110% anecdotal because of where I work. Because I work in the geek pop culture store.
Yes. It's weird. It's called the Geek Pop Culture Store.
But I've also
And-
met people like this everywhere I've ever lived and been. So this is something. Life is not YouTube, and I think that YouTube has had a horrendous effect on the. I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. The socially awkward geeks, in which they have now, like Vince, in which they're now watching people online play these kind of caricatures
He's
of
missing a
themselves.
hand.
He's missing 2 hands.
Yeah, he's supposed to be in the trash, but he's not in the trash.
But they
Can't clap.
they watch these like people.
He made me watch.
They watch people like I guess Nostalgia Critic is kind of the Nostalgia Critic James Rolfe kind of a thing where it's very skit oriented and it's very much like it's very scripted and like they're playing a character and like they're making fun of movies and like they're making these witty observations, right? And then they do that in real life because they don't have friends. And I see this a lot.
Wait,
where
guys like the Nostalgia Critic
no,
or people who watch the Nostalgia
I
Critic?
mean people who watch it, who think
yeah,
that
obviously not all
who
people,
think
but
that
some people.
This is slightly different from the like teenagers like right now teenagers are really fucked because Bo Burnham has this thing where he talks about how like it used to be everyone wanted to be a celebrity and like that was a dream, and then YouTube and what's the one that closed?
Vimeo?
The one where you can like record yourself for like 10 seconds or whatever.
Snapchat?
No.
That's still a thing.
But-
I'm not
Wait,
sure.
isn't
What
that still running?
But we're like, we now made it so that you can be a star and you live your life like you're a celeb. We don't need. The reason reality TV died is because we all got to make our own lives reality television.
and thank God, but at what cost?
Yeah. So and it's horrendous and it's horrific and it's awful. But I think specifically with geeks, the kind of people that are very socially awkward, don't know how to deal with people. It's gotten real bad because they're trying to do bits and they're talking to no one. They can't read a room and understand that they're making other people uncomfortable or bored.
Well, I mean, is that so much YouTube or is that just social media in general?
It feels like YouTube because, at least in my personal experience, the way they talk is like those internet
You can see the
personalities.
influences.
Yes,
Yeah.
I see that it's almost like every conversation is a fucking audition,
But
and
like-
it's uncomfortable.
but-
And I feel bad for them because I'm like, oh, you don't have friends.
And part of the problem is the blurred lines of those characters in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like I love James Rolfe, I really do, but like when he says that AVGN is a character, well, yes and no. You know, like there is a line that he's walking with that.
You're sharing your opinions, but you're being an extreme version of yourself.
But
that's right.
But
yeah.
and that's what these people are doing, and it's like it's so uncomfortable. Like they just don't understand like social parameters, and like I watch them. I watch them like at my store, look at things and talk to no one, just hoping someone will listen to them and like strike up a conversation. We've seen this at bookstores.
We have.
Where like people just
Remember, we were just looking around trying to figure out who the guy was talking to.
Yeah, and like people have started doing out loud running commentaries of the world around them because they're the fucking most important person in the world, and they have all of these witty and interesting things. Look, I go online and I talk about a lot of things. You know what I don't do? I don't wander into fucking Barnes and Noble, look at comics, and start reviewing them out loud.
Can I ask you a crazy question? Is this in some way, I mean, like it's probably not this extreme in most cases, but in a way, is it like a new version of losing touch with reality? Where, like, in their head, they are making a YouTube video?
I think
where, like,
possibly.
they can't see the difference between reality and a made up reality, a like manufactured reality. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Maybe. They certainly can't tell that other people are uncomfortable by it and don't want to engage, and that they're not interested in what they're saying.
Yeah,
they cannot tell.
I wonder if we're moving toward a culture where people don't have interior thoughts. where
that's great.
In order for their thoughts to be coherent and
or for them to feel like they're worthwhile thoughts.
Yeah, like a thought in their head is this amorphous thing that bounces and chaotic, and it's like a squirrel in traffic. But then you have thoughts that come out of your mouth, and now I can direct this thought.
Well, and that's what I think is the most terrific thing about Twitter, is that Twitter is like someone let you have your inner thoughts out, and then you don't have anything to stop you. You don't. Yeah. You just go straight out.
Vince, if the idea,
I don't really use Twitter because I everything I say has to be this long. It can't be that long. So.
I mean, to be fair, they doubled the character count, but your point stands. So, Vince, if the idea is it's gotta be public for me to even like get the thought articulated, like that's a problem. What you're describing to a degree, like the most extreme version of that is horrific, but what you're describing is
I must go to the restroom now.
The idea that you're describing, what you're describing though, Vince, to a degree is kind of just a personality type in the first place, to be fair, because I kind of have that to some degree. Like I do my best thinking out loud. I like walk around talking to myself in public, but like I've always said, like, I don't really know what I think about a thing until I've written it down. To a degree, there's a personality type there. You know what I mean?
Like, when I'm really agitated about things, I'll write a frickin' paper, and then if I feel like it's worthwhile to post on social media, I will. But
I mean,
otherwise,
it's dangerous. It's dangerous to be too up in your head, anyways. And
yes.
I think there's a difference between like talking through something and like when I used to do my own videos, like you would listen to my videos, but like this is what we talked about. I was like, well, yeah, I'm just working through my thoughts, and then I finally put them in a video form. Like I hone what I'm thinking. You have to. It's like writing. Like you have to have feedback on what you can't just live in your head. It's really dangerous, and like you'll tear yourself apart.
You know,
like there is a part of it that you have to get out.
It can be cathartic to share that with people. Yeah.
But
for me, I don't have to always like. People don't always have to read it. I often articulate my thoughts better when I get them out in some form, and I think that's different from what you're saying.
But I'm not going to half-price books and like looking at like the Anne Rice books and being like, well, you know, it's interesting because the first 3 are really good, 4's okay, 5's weird but not bad, and then after that, like I'm not talking to no one.
So are you saying that to whoever's listening, or are you saying that to yourself?
I think they're saying it to whoever's listening because they do jokes and stuff and they laugh.
And they're loud.
Yeah.
You know, it's possible.
No, it's like they're recording a Nostalgia Critic-esque YouTube video.
No, I think you're right. It sounds desperate.
It does. And it's really uncomfortable.
I don't even
and I don't think they realize it.
I don't even think, like, sometimes just talking to yourself when there's no one else around is crazy.
No.
Like,
no, or like trying to remember something.
I mean, I do that, but I am legit crazy.
Well, that's true, yeah. So you get a pass.
You're also probably a Slytherin, right?
What?
I have a whole thing about anyone that says they're a Slytherin is just a person that needs attention.
Oh, a Slytherin!
Yeah.
I
If you think your house is Slytherin, you are someone desperate for attention.
It's just did the Arthur twitch. It was pretty good Arthur twitch.
Apparently,
you saw that. That was pretty good.
Apparently,
that's pretty good.
Thank you.
Nice.
Apparently, my house is Gryffindor, but my because I like Harry Potter. Get off my ass. And
it's a shit universe, and it's not a real fandom, but it's
I
okay.
fucking love it. I don't give a shit.
Wow.
It is fine if you are a child, and if you are just looking at good prose, but it is not a worthwhile fandom. And I'm fucking sick and tired of people acting like it's a real universe.
Wait, so what? We're completely off topic, and for the record, I haven't gotten a topic yet either. But
well, you got the first topic.
What now?
You got the patron topic.
No,
You read it. That's your
Yeah,
topic.
I read it up. That's not fair. I didn't get a fucking topic. Because Eric's all like, acting like he's all alone. Like, you're like, yeah, more than half the people in the room haven't got a
Because
topic
it was
yet.
dying down. I was just like, okay.
What do you say? Oh, do I get a topic? Where's my topic?
I wasn't trying to like
No,
that.
I'm just kidding.
Harry Potter's not a legit
How is
fandom?
how? Yeah, I
Are you
understand
joking?
that.
Like
He's
like
not.
20%. No,
He's not
no,
joking.
no. This thing really bothers me.
Look at him go.
Okay, so I read Harry Potter when I was a kid, and I like Harry Potter to an extent. They're good books.
Until the end.
They're the last one, which is shit.
Yeah.
They're less good movies, but they're not bad movies. At least not the ones that aren't bad. And if that's a piece of shit. My problem
First one's
is
good, second one's shit.
Oh, we hate that. We didn't go to the second one because we didn't review the first one. We disliked it so much, and we just didn't even want to get it.
and we're like, there's no way that anyone else hated this as much as us. We're just not going to talk about this.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
No, I think Harry Potter's bullshit. I think it's fantasy and superhero for people that aren't willing to put in the effort to actually get into a universe with actual characters and like that's what it feels like to me. It's like I don't really want to get into a fantasy thing
It's
or like a
pretty
superhero.
involved, though, isn't it?
It is 7 books of a poorly thought out universe. That book series ends in book fucking 2 if she thought that universe out. She didn't. And the reason it ends is because of the next goddamn book. That's a series that concludes by in the last book her thinking up 3 plot devices and retroactively saying that they were important the whole time. We never
Yeah, that's
once
fair.
fucking heard about that fairy tale book. The Deathly Hallows aren't mentioned a single time before the 7th book. It's a bullshit universe, and people act like it's consistent and well thought out and good. It's not.
I feel that way about some of that Doctor Who stuff too. Where I'm
That's fair.
like it's this thing's suddenly important. Like, oh look how clever he was. Well, you just went back to the first episode, wrote in a thing, and then referenced it in the last.
The difference is,
but if she went back to the first book and fucking added it, it'd be fine. She didn't. It doesn't show up until book 7.
he's talking about the retroactive thing.
Oh, okay,
too.
okay.
Saying the same thing.
Oh,
So,
I see what you mean.
Like you wanted a device, but because you wrote a season before you released the season, you just went back to the beginning and put
But
this
I
in,
don't mind
as
that as
opposed
much
to making it actually
with,
intricately woven. Like Bad Wolf was intricately woven.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then about the time we get to the Matt Smith stuff, I don't really.
And
have
I don't
to
like
see
the
that.
Matt Smith
This is
stuff.
that Angel Season 4 problem.
We're like, well, we don't need to have everything intricately related to one another. We're just going to call him clever, but at the end of it, it's just going to be this
we'll
thing
just
that we
make
set
it
up.
so many timelines on top of each other, you won't be able to follow it, so you'll think that it makes sense and we're being smart.
But Doctor Who's, yeah, because that show has always danced around.
It's
like,
about paradoxes
how
to some degree.
How important continuity is and whether everything should even count. Harry Potter didn't have that. Like
Yeah, Harry Potter is
was-
7
right.
books by one person.
Yeah.
Well, sure.
And I just think Harry Potter's bullshit fandom, and like they're a fine series of books.
Wow.
People need to fucking stop. They need to stop talking about their houses. They need to stop wearing paraphernalia. And look, my family loves fucking Harry Potter. Like I get it, okay? Like I get it.
My parents do. Or
But
my,
it feels like a bullshit
my stepdad,
fandom.
yeah.
It feels like the mainstream fandom for people that can't get into real fandoms.
do yourself a favor and never say this to Jeff.
I'll never say this to my mom. like no, this is just for you guys. I think Harry Potter's a bullshit fandom for people that can't put in the effort for something real and something
Wow.
expansive.
I think
Like
that's
Star Wars, like
unfair.
Star Trek, like Marvel, like DC.
I think that's legit unfair.
That's fine. That's fine.
I mean, because
It's the franchise for lazy.
I think this is fascinating.
I mean, because the whole idea here is it's a. Well,
And I'm
I like-
sorry, they're not that good. They are well written
Well,
in
sure.
the prose. The stories and characters are just okay. They're not that good in the goddamn first place.
I'm not saying it's high art. I'm saying it's entertaining, and the universe being expansive enough that you can have multiple different factors in which you can insert yourself into it and find out that you have a house, you have a Patronus, you have blah 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 blah.
I'm gonna get a lot of shit for saying this. I feel like at one time, and I don't know, maybe to a degree, right
I'm getting hot
You
now.
are super hot.
I'm getting hot in the collar.
You're the pretty man.
I don't know. I'm gonna get shit for saying this. I feel like people could probably make a list of a bunch of contradictory things in Star Wars AU and say the same thing.
Absolutely. You know what the difference is? It's more than 7 books and more than one fucking writer.
Okay.
And it's also not the global phenomenon that fucking Harry Potter is. Like,
It's not?
not EU.
Oh, yeah, okay.
There are more people that have read Harry. Well, and I don't even know if that's true.
Yeah.
There's more people that have read Harry Potter. There's more people that have read Harry Potter than Star Wars EU, right?
But Star Wars EU by itself seems to be a lot bigger than even like the canon Star Trek fandom by like probably 3 or 4 times.
You think so? Really?
Oh yeah, yes I do.
I've always thought the EU thing was much smaller than.
It's not.
Interesting.
I run into so many people that know that stuff before I run into Star Trek fans and like people that know a lot of canon Star Trek. Like
Interesting.
What does the European Union have to do with Star Wars?
extended universe. But why? Oh, you're making a joke.
Yes!
Okay.
As opposed to DC or Warner Brothers extended universe.
Extended universe,
God, I
yeah.
fucking hated they took EU. I was like, that's a Star Wars term that we sometimes apply to other things.
I need to look into this. And this is the first time I've ever heard
EA
this.
games?
Somebody on the Captain Logan show last week said that they're sick of people saying extended universe because that was never a thing that DC actually came up with. That was just like a fan thing that somebody ran with, and now we're all calling it extended universe. I thought that they put that out.
I was under the impression that was their official term.
I thought that was their official term. Because
and if it wasn't, they adopted it just like the MCU.
Because this person said, well, because this person said, no, the real thing, what it always was Worlds of DC, which I thought was later.
It has never been it was not Worlds of DC in the first place.
I don't think so.
That's what it is now.
That's what
I
it is.
think because
Isn't
it's
that what it is
different
with the-
things.
Although I think
different-
that's catchy. I like
different
Worlds of
things.
Yeah.
Well, especially because it's coming around and saying we're not a shared universe anymore, or we're not necessarily a shared universe anymore. Yeah. Because I don't know if you know that, but the extended universe is officially dead now. They're just making movies that are movies, and then they might cross again down the road when they get their act together better and when it makes more sense to do. No, it's great if they stick with it, because I don't trust anything with them. Right. But yeah.
Even Game of Thrones is like fucking uncompleted, and I think it's more complex a universe than Harry Potter.
Now, to be fair, you haven't seen the later seasons that people say aren't as good. And once he gets past his books.
Well, no, I'm talking just about his books.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the TV show.
No, I'm just talking about his books. The Game of Thrones books makes more sense to me as to build a fandom around than Babylon 5 makes more sense to me to build a fandom. I mean, I guess that's 5 seasons of television shows a lot of content versus, but like, I'm sorry. Harry Potter is like the fucking mainstream like normie thing. Like, I'm sorry, it just is. It's not real. It's not a real fandom. It's a bunch of giggling girls and giggling boys.
Because you say it's not a real fandom, but people love it, and there's a lot of different aspects to it.
Because there's no work involved.
They can insert themselves into these universes.
But that's my thing, is because there's no work involved. It's the lazy fandom. It's like Twilight.
Is it? What do you mean there's no work involved? Because like
you read 7 books. Like, that's it. And like the universe doesn't make sense, so you'll have to.
But I mean,
you'll have to learn any. You'll have to. I don't know.
Is it a legit fandom to be a fan of Back to the Future?
But there's a lot of stuff.
But there's
3 movies.
There's 3 movies. There is a.
I don't understand either.
It's the level. It's about the levels. It's about the levels.
We don't mean to gang up on you.
So Back to the Future.
I don't completely understand.
I have nothing. I don't have. There's nothing wrong with people like Back to the Future, and then there's Back to the Future.
But can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
When you say only 7 books, and there's like nothing to study or whatever. There's a lot of pages, and there's a lot of mythology, and there's a lot of terminology, and there's a lot of history, and even if the stuff doesn't completely out of it, like, is Lost a legitimate fandom when it has what a lot of people think is a shitty ending?
I'd like you to find me a Lost fan at this point in time.
They can't find their direction anytime at all.
Okay, but I'm just saying, if there are, does it not count anymore because of the ending? Like...
Right, but it's not just the end.
But
like,
then this is
Harry Potter's just okay. That's my
mean,
issue. Is that it is this.
Fine, but
what does that have to do with it being a legitimate fandom?
It's like fucking Pokemon.
Power Rangers is ridiculous. It makes no fucking sense.
You can be a Pokemon fan.
No, you can't be a Pokemon fan, but it's the basis of all fandoms.
But it's
is being a I know, but I don't know. It's different. I hate how big Harry Potter is because I don't think it deserves.
That drives me crazy too. That it got to Star Wars,
and that people act like they're.
But it's just too hyperbolic. But it is too hyperbolic to say it's not a legitimate fandom, and to say Power Rangers is.
It is. Wait, I forgot I can do that.
But no, you're not wrong.
I was like, it is fucked up. I was like, wait. Oh yeah, I can do that.
Okay,
I mean, it is
I
fucked
see a
up.
camera, but I remember what time it is.
I guess really the issue is Harry Potter doesn't deserve the fandom it has. If
Okay.
if it was a much
Yeah.
smaller thing, I got no problem with people liking it and like dressing up as a character. My problem is the global phenomenon it became. It does not deserve. It's not good enough.
Do you think it's one of those things too that is mostly a fad and people act like they're really big into it, but they don't know as much as they act like? They do?
No,
Is
and
it
that's
that
part of my
thing?
problem with
Is
it.
they know
Is
too
I
much?
don't think it's going away.
Oh, okay.
Like
Well, it's a really long-running fad. I would call the. There are other things that are. You can have 20-year fads, I guess. Like
it feels fucking lazy to me, and like I don't like it just feels bullshit to me. Like they're fine books, whatever. Like it feels like I can't be bothered to get into an actual fantasy universe or an actual superhero universe. So I'll stick with these 7 books I don't have to invest that much time into.
Well, I mean-
or I'm willing to bet most people these 7 or 8 movies that I don't have to put that much time into. And I'm gonna say I'm a mega fan.
Can I see
I'm
this
gonna
is
wear
an
a
actual
fucking
fantasy
pin for
universe.
Raven.
It's just a less
Ravenclaw.
sophisticated universe.
I don't think. Here's the thing. I don't think you would be as angry about this if you didn't feel like it was. Tell me if I'm wrong. If you didn't feel like it was stopping other good, in your mind, more sophisticated, better fantasy things from happening. Like I think if we had really good fantasy franchises,
It does
on
bother me
film
that
right
it's
now,
that It and Lord of the Rings are the only successful fantasy films.
And I'm not even a fantasy fan, and that bugs me.
I
Like,
love Conan. Why don't we have more Conan stuff out there, or Cole the Conqueror, or whatever? But
Well, because the Cole movie was what it was, and that Conan movie was not great.
see what I mean? Like they can't.
But I agree with you, and I'm
Like-
disappointed that Amazon's no longer making that TV show. I want more. I want more variety in my fantasy films. You know what else makes it feel lazy and fucking bullshit? That's set in basically present day. Like, I understand that it is fantasy, but I hate that I feel like Harry Potter came in and fucking polluted the waters, where fantasy meant something. Like, when you said I'm looking for a fantasy book or a fantasy thing, it was, like a sword and sorcery kind of a thing.
it looked like the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Harry Potter is the fantasy franchise,
In its present day. And that's part of why
and
it
it's
is.
fucked everything.
You
We're
know,
like, that's just
Part of
what
the reason it got that popular is because it was
Yeah,
the
because
first
they're
major thing they
lazy,
said.
and they don't want to put themselves into a different time and place and have an actually interesting universe. Also, there's a weird anti-Semitic thing in there, and I'm not sure about. With
Really?
the goblins that run the banks and have all the money, they're like real, like, yeah,
I've
yeah,
never thought
yeah.
of that.
That's weird, right? Also,
That's not necessarily intentional, though. Like,
she also seems like a shitty person. That doesn't really factor into it, but like, do you know the thing about Stephen Fry, who read the there's 2 authors, or there's 2 readers of the
I'm
author.
not
There's
sure.
like,
Maybe you told me about this. I don't know.
so Stephen Fry,
The comedian?
the comedian Stephen Fry, is one of the 2 people that read the audiobooks, because there's like 2 sets of Harry Potter audiobooks.
I don't know if
And
you know this about Stephen Fry, but he gets into like political conversations and stuff constantly.
Sure.
Like, he's
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway.
my issue with her is not
He's-
political. My issue with her is that she seems like a mean person. So when they met, when he's recording, he said something along the lines of like, "Oh, I'm really glad this happened for you. Like this is great." And she took that as like belittling and insulting, and found out that there's like 2 words next to each other that he has a really hard time saying, one right after the other. And put them in every single Harry Potter book so that he had to stumble over it reading the audiobook.
Wow.
Also, the terrible pink woman from book 5, right? That's based on a real person. That's based on an actual teacher she had.
Okay.
And then she has that woman raped. Because that's what happens in that story, is she's raped by centaurs.
No, I don't
Because-
recall that at all.
Well, what we're told is that she has no marks on her, but she gets real scared when they go, and they can't figure out what they did to her. Or they don't tell the kids what they did to her. They hurt her not on the outside.
Oof.
And this isn't just a fictional character. This is specifically her writing a teacher of hers.
See,
This is a better reason for you to be as angry as you are about this being like a big, like, prevalent fan.
I don't like JJ. I don't like her as a person, and that might feed into it. But I also think that Harry Potter's kind of bullshit.
So,
Okay.
what you're telling me is there's absolutely nothing to read into in Harry Potter, and you cannot explore it because it's not a legitimate fandom. There's no subtext.
I didn't say that. I didn't say there's no subtext. It seems like a lot of the subtext is really mean spirited.
Okay.
But I just don't. I think they're just fine. Like they are fine.
This was a Pandora's box that I did not expect to see open.
No, I've never brought it up because I know everyone's
haven't.
gonna be angry about it.
You never even said this to me before.
I mean, yeah, honestly, I'm not angry. I just find it interesting, and I also don't care. I mean, other than
Yeah, I don't have a dog in this
the
fight
goblin
either.
thing does bug me actually. Now
Now that you're thinking about
It's gonna
it,
be
it's
in my
fucking
friggin' head.
weird.
like, huh. You've ruined certain parts of Harry Potter for me because of the goblin thing.
Vince, before we go,
Don't worry, they have a ride at Universal
You still need to
Studios.
give a topic.
well, I promised I was going to make Vince do something.
Oh!
And I don't want to say that.
Is that your
and then-
topic?
Yeah, because Vince... So this won't be a discussion, but I'm going to have Vince do something, because Vince isn't with us all the time, and it might be a while before he comes back, if he comes
Alright.
back, so... Now, you got to hear what
It's
it
gonna
is
make
first.
you famous.
It's
Stop
worse than that. No, I'm
crying.
kidding. Vince, there's a thing that I made Eric do shows and shows ago that I'd like to also make you do, because it's kind of fun. I want you to pick, except for the action figure without hands, okay? You can't pick that. But I want you to pick, you can't pick that.
Put it down, you can't pick it.
You can't pick it. Put it down. Put it down!
I'm picky.
I'm not giving you a zombie until you put it down. Okay, I want you to pick anything in this room and review it.
You also can't pick
For
that
the camera.
Batman robot.
No, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, that might fall apart.
Oh, yeah.
That is not the most stable lamp. No, find any, like...
You can get up, you can search around.
Yeah, you can search around. Any kind of physical object that you can review on camera. So not like a movie or something you've seen, not like that, it's just something
Like
that,
a toy or a prop
Yeah.
or...
Are you going to do that? Are you going to review that? Are you going to take a sip of that and review it? Is that your whole
Have
plan?
you had that?
I'm not.
Well, you can review
you
right
can
now.
do that. Yeah, that'll work. Sure, do you want a glass?
No, I'm just gonna take a swig.
Just
Right out of the bottle?
Right
just
out of
one
the bottle.
follow it.
Alright, sure. Okay, well, tell everybody what it is. Like, this is a review, so you have to do the review thing, okay?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Evan Williams Peach. It is peach whiskey. It says Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey blended with peach liqueur, 35% alcohol, 70 proof. And if anybody's been wondering, like, well, how do you figure out the proof from the alcohol content? It's just the percentage is half the proof. So, 35%, 70 proof. Anyway. So, the back
so
of it
that's
here,
35% alcohol?
yeah, that's what it says, 35% alcohol,
Wow.
70 proof.
I mean, it's whiskey. That's not
Yeah,
that
that makes sense.
far out of the norm, right? Like,
Says the smooth...
that's why you just
I
take a
just-
shot. That's why you don't keep drinking it. Like,
Oh, I just drink. We know this about me.
Somebody should look
that
up
was a
and-
mistake on the Dan show.
Yeah.
We should look up and see what the percentage of actual Evan Williams is. Now, actually, my whiskey of choice, because it's reasonably cheap, is Evan Williams. And so I'll make Evan Williams and Coke or Evan Williams and Pepsi or whatever the off-brand thing that I use is from...
You should write a Nicholas Sparks parody called Dear Evan Williams.
I don't get it.
I don't either.
It's a love story with alcohol.
Right.
Because
on.
Nicholas Sparks, I want to say there's a deer something.
Well,
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I'll
You know
put it
Nicholas
to you
Sparks
this
is, though.
way.
I don't.
Oh, every shitty sappy like love
Do-
story
do
that's
you know
not a comedy
who he's talking about?
is
I've heard of
based,
Nicholas
is
Sparks.
based
I don't
on
know
Nicholas
much
Sparks.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is-
okay.
Is that the guy that did... Oh,
Sorry.
God. The
Yes,
Notebook?
he did The Notebook,
Oh,
and he did Dear
yeah.
John,
Okay.
and he did
Right, sure.
like everything you've ever seen
Now that you
that's
say
not
that, I
a
guess I have heard
romantic
of his name,
comedy.
I forget, yeah.
That's Nicholas Sparks.
Okay. All right.
So this thing says the... we should look up what the actual proof of Evan Williams is.
Okay.
The I thank you. The
If you
smoothness
care, we'll do that.
of Evan Williams with a fresh peach taste, perfect as a chilled shot on the rocks or mixed. I.e., we're taking it warm. So.
Are you gonna tell us
I guess we
all
can
of
put it
that's
on ice.
accurate?
Hey, that's
is that part of the review?
You'd have to go all the way upstairs to get Iceman. Like,
That's true. I mean, I could do
But
Evan
you won't.
Williams Black is 43%. I don't know if that's the normal one though. I don't
Yeah.
know what Black is.
that. Yeah, black is the higher proof one. There's a lower proof. It's green. I usually get black. I don't know why. I think it's smoother. I think it's tastier. The thing that's interesting about Evan Williams, in my opinion, is that you can go get a bottle of Jack Daniels for twice the price. They're both filtered through charcoal. Wait, right?
Green Label is
I think-
80 proof.
I drink alcohol. I don't know anything about it. I'm not a nerd.
Yeah,
well,
I
they're
don't
both
either.
they're both made out of the same thing. They're
Okay,
sour
Black-
mash filtered
so
through
Black
charcoal.
Black is 86 proof, 43% alcohol by volume, and then green is like you said lower. It's 80. It's 80 proof.
Gotcha. And this guy's 70 because it's mixed with liqueur instead of... I don't know why I think it's funny to say it that way. Liqueur. So, So Evan Williams is my
Like
whiskey
you're not
of choice.
pretentious enough about alcohol without that.
Now, I'm not pretentious about whiskey. I will drink rot gut. And prior to this, what I was drinking was whatever was the cheapest or whatever was held that wasn't McCormick. McCormick is made in Weston, and I think it's swill. I think it's terrible. And actually, Weston's a lovely town, but McCormick's whiskey is like horse glue. It's just terrible.
As opposed to what glue?
Well, Elmer's, which would basically be like flour and water, right? So if you're interested, whatever. But
You said glue, not paste.
so
I'm just kidding.
good. It is funky, man. So Evan Williams is my whiskey of choice because it's not the bottom shelf. It's it's lower middle shelf, and I think it's
Like my
worthwhile.
social status. Or financial status, not social. I guess social.
He's staying within his means.
Yeah.
We're getting to be upper middle class as part of the 1%.
Upper middle shelf, lower middle shelf.
we have the 1%, the 2%, and then the rest of us. Lower middle class and below. So,
Funny how the 1% shelf just doesn't move that much.
nobody ever buys this stuff. Well, because you only spend 5% of your earnings, right? The rest of us spend between 100 and 110% going into debt. So,
Well,
Like the
and
1%
if
are
you're-
going to come into this store.
Well, and if you're smart,
this is a
if
basement.
you're smart when you're 1%, you don't buy from the 1% shelf. You just buy up all of the
So
the lower
all of this
shelf.
stuff is more costly, and then we move on to the next thing that's even worse.
Well, I thought you meant you just stock your wet bar.
So I do like Evan Williams, and my experience with a lot of these things is that they are sickly and funky. Not necessarily these ones from Evan Williams, but like
You mean the
apple,
flavored ones?
Crown Royal apple. Ugh. That now I came over to Cap's place here, and I saw this sitting on his counter, and I said, "God, that's got to be the worst hangover." So.
And then I told him that I actually have had a hangover.
And you said the worst hangover you've
it
ever
was,
had.
and I haven't done that a lot. Like I got weird one night, and I just ended up drinking a lot of that, and I lost track of. Anyway, it's not a thing I usually do, but I had a weird night that night, and I wasn't going to talk about this. Go ahead.
So, first whiff. There is a very whiskeyous fume to it, which is not like a technical term or anything, but this is again,
Copyright, Vince.
So
Fume.
I don't know what the hell any of these words mean, but so
I think it's important to note that that's been sitting on the counter for a while, and that it's had a lot of air in it for a while. So like I don't know what it's going to taste
That
like.
means I love you.
Because. But I'm just saying, you might not be getting exactly the same flavor as you would if you open a brand new bottle, right?
So it's oxidized.
It's oxidized, yeah.
we let it breathe like brandy.
Okay, all right. There you
So, but it is incredibly powerfully peach. Like
Yes.
this
go. Wait
stuff.
till you taste it.
This stuff smells like peach syrup that somebody has managed to boil
Before
down.
you drink it, how do you feel about peach in general, as a flavor and as a
I do. I
taste?
like peach.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. So it's not like a thing you're repulsed by.
No, and I'm okay with a variety of mixed things. I don't. Girly drinks aren't a thing that I. That's a horrible thing to say, by the by, but it's a thing that I've
what are
said
you
for
saying,
years.
Vince?
Yeah.
The
Are you saying?
filled drinks?
Are you
I
saying
don't drink and drink anyone I've ever met under the table.
Yeah, are you saying I drink?
I know.
girly
That's why I
drinks?
stopped and said
Yeah,
it's a horrible thing.
yeah, I drink a lot of stuff with fruit in it because I fucking love fruit. Deal with it. I don't understand why we say girly drink and why I, as a man, can't like the things I like.
So that's a horrible thing to say.
It is.
Please
I
don't
drink
judge me.
whiskey
It's-
straight. I'm not concerned about this.
There are still
I
some
am, but I like
things.
pineapple and everything.
Let's talk about this for a second. There are still some old world things that I have in my head that when I say them aloud going forward in the future, I go, holy shit, that's a horrible thing to say.
It's not, because it's typical 20th century gender roles, and there's nothing you can do about that. Like that's like it's like a wife beater.
Well, I mean,
just because
like
you say
wife
that
beater
doesn't
is
mean
the
that-
worst thing.
It doesn't mean you have those sensibilities.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
mean that I'm a bad person. What it means is
That's
that
what those are
the
called.
language that I use is born out, and some of the colloquialisms are born out of a sexist society. Therefore, it is inherently in our.
I don't even think that's
vocabulary.
sexist. The sexist thing is more giving him shit for drinking girly drinks. Them being girly drinks, I don't think is inherently sexy.
I don't think it is
If
either.
women predominantly, or sexist.
Very attractive.
What's wrong with being sexy? But no.
I find it empowering.
If women predominantly move towards those kinds of drinks, there's nothing wrong with calling them girly drinks if that's majorly what girls drink. The issue is when you then stigmatize it and say, like, well, but it's bad because that's what girls
Yeah,
drink.
like, saying... It's funny, because, like...
Unlike wife beater, which we just throw around as a term for a shirt, and it's just awful.
Saying girly is more against the men that drink it than it is sexist to women saying, these girls drink girly drinks, because, like, the girly man thing, right? Like,
yeah, like we have to make this division,
when
and
you
therefore
say-
you are more feminine rather than you just like things that taste like fruit.
When you say girly, I think that traditionally that's always against men that we don't think are masculine enough before we're being sexist to women, right?
You know, this is a thing I think about fairly often because I have a gay friend who
Unless
time...
you think it's sexist just because it's also like stereotyping women, like all women like fruity things. But
well, if you go to my house, most of the women in the house, well, actually, since it's just my wife, but
Does your daughter not also drink?
she is my daughter is mostly into milk at the moment. She really enjoys milk. She
Maybe a
kind
little
of
bit of
hates the
water here
kind
and
she's
there.
drinking, but she's I can't remember what kind of milk it is. It's a special non-soy, non-dairy because she has an allergy. But whatever it is, alimentum.
But it's rum spiced. It's rum spiced milk.
So
anyway,
I sent a message to my wife and said, what kind of milk was it that I needed to buy? And she said alimentum, and then I sent back to her in a series of texts, alimentum, alimentum, alimentum Figaro. So funny.
I was trying to come up with an antebellum joke, and I just couldn't.
That's why I couldn't think of alimentum for a second. Or maybe it's alimentum, or whatever. But all I could think of was antebellum, and I was like, that ain't right. That ain't right.
I was just saying, I think that's usually like a insult to men who drink those things.
I have a gay friend who he and I have had multiple conversations about gender roles and being secure in your manhood. But every time he orders a drink that is fruit based or brightly colored, he's like, "I know," and I'm like, "What have I given you shit for drinking your?" So girly drink is a thing that we have these conversations about because he goes, "I know, don't judge me." And the other guy next to him orders an old fashioned, and then I order whatever fancy beers on the menu. So
I just think there have always been like manly men who probably avoid things that they would like the taste of just because they don't think they're supposed to do that.
Throughout all of literature, literature is populated with the intellectual men who hate the manly, this is always, as long as there has been writing, there has been maybe not like in Greece where everyone was like a buff guy, but really early literature is just peopled with the insecure about their masculinity men. That's just that's inherent in writing because they're more creatively driven. So
well, you see this a lot in movies and stuff in the '90s where men drink beer, and you'll have men that'll drink beer and they obviously don't like the taste of it, but you're a man, you're supposed to drink beer. It's I only drink the beer I drink because I like the taste of it now. It
is an entrapment. I mean, it's a thing where we are defined by social constructs. Well, I don't like beer, but all my friends drink beer, so I'm going to drink this beer. And then you don't realize that there are other flavors of beer out there, and completely other things. And then people around you go, well, I like beer that tastes like beer. I'm like, well, what a coincidence. There's a lot of those. And they all taste like different kinds. And then they look at me and they're like, well, you're just hoity-toity and you think you're better than us. I'm like, no, I don't like the beer you drink.
Are you too good for Pabst Blue Ribbon?
You know what? Of all of the shit beers, Pabst I don't mind. It kind of tastes like nothing. It's soda water.
How do you feel about Blue Moon?
Blue Moon is okay.
I like the taste of that okay.
Blue Moon's white ale is the common one that people drink a lot of, and I don't care for it, but Blue Moon's IPA is pretty good. It's strangely mild.
My favorite thing about Pabst Blue Ribbon is that it's simultaneously what white trash people drink and what hipsters drink.
Yeah.
Both of these groups drink Pabst Blue Ribbon.
I don't mind PBR. I don't order it. I never order it, but if it's the only thing at a party...
If it's the only thing on TV, I'll watch it.
Maybe someday we'll finally bring these two groups together.
Maybe!
So what we're saying is I'm half redneck, half hipster.
Sure.
Man, I said the most hipstery thing to my wife at Hammer Press once, where I'm looking through these bands, and
then he followed it up with a trailer trash comment.
And I said
y'all.
And I was like, boy, I don't listen to any of these guys. And I said, I guess my taste is just a little atypical. And she's like, oh, that's so hipster. And I was like, whatever.
It's hipster to say
well,
atypical?
I forget what I said, but it was like, I guess nobody listens to the stuff I do or something like that, where I was trying to set myself apart from the rest of humanity, saying, you've never heard of this.
I had somebody in the other day
You got to speak up for the camera.
I had somebody in the other day.
Sorry, you
And,
blindsided me with that. That's really funny.
I had somebody in the other day who
He is totally going to review this at some point.
I had somebody in the other day who was looking at. There's a band called Odessa.
Oh, I've heard of them.
I've heard of them. I don't
I
know.
don't think I've heard of them.
Yes, you have.
Oh.
They're on the radio. They're
I don't listen to the radio.
I'm not saying they're like top 40 type of music, but like they're being played. You've heard of this band. They're pretty popular. Guy comes in. You have Odessa? I didn't think I'd find Odessa like just out and about. Yeah, they're really popular. Are they? I thought they like it would be like discover like it. I'm trying to like it'd be like thinking like Nickelback was like yours, and then being like, you've heard of Nickel? Like I'm not comparing, but like
the best comparison I can think of is I saw a couple people in the '90s that did this with B&L, with Bare Naked Ladies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That happened with
It'd be like where I'm just like, and then it was like almost like it was like a Kids in the Hall skit where like he just kept walking up in front of me holding something and where he's like, I'm not gonna like he got a record and walked up and was like, I'm not gonna buy this, but I can't believe that you have records for Odessa. Like it was like a
He goes through the posters and he finds an Odessa
Oh my
poster,
God, you have
and
an
then
Odessa-
he just faints. He just falls on the floor.
Maybe he has amnesia.
It was like he was paid. Like I
Born
almost
yesterday?
can't. I almost can't believe that. Yeah, it was just.
Forget what I was watching. They're talking about some guy.
Well, he
who
looked like a
had,
walking commercial.
Amnesia.
Yeah. That's he was holding the record as if he was like, I can't believe that they have Odessa on, and they're like not many on the radio. He's like, no, they're not on the radio, and they're like, yeah, they used to be like only XM, but they're played pretty regularly on FM. Are they really? And it's like, yeah.
Was he that loud too?
No, he was really loud. It was like a Kids in the Hall skit.
Was he looking past you, or was he talking like was he talking to you, or just to the ether?
I think it was okay, both.
Wait, was he one of these? One of the people you were talking about earlier?
Yes, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Where like he would walk up to the general vicinity of where we were.
I'm gonna get ice while you're
Where we
saying
are.
that.
Sure.
Okay. Good luck getting ice. I think you can get ice.
The machine will ding at you and say it's broken.
Yeah, but I think you can get ice out of it. I'm sorry if I end up not having ice,
I'll figure it out.
but I think you can get ice out of that machine right now. I haven't
just
used ice in a
short
while.
jaunt upstairs.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see you a little bit, Vince. Bye.
But he would walk to where we were, we being the employees, and talk towards us, but not specifically at us. Like, I think he just wanted people to be in the vicinity of him speaking.
Okay.
Which is what I think a lot of these people want. Not to circle back,
Yeah.
but he said something and it made me think. I was like, oh my God, I forgot to tell you about this guy who is, yeah.
Doesn't that immediately make you tune out?
Yes. Of course
It's
it
like,
does.
well, you don't even want to talk to me, and you don't care about it. And I think one of the
You
most
just want an audience. You don't want to have a conversation.
Yeah, and then it makes you feel used in a weird way where it's like you just need another human being so that you know someone is paying attention to you, but like it's completely one-sided. And they also don't even really care that much how much you're paying attention. They just want a warm body in the room or something. So the thing that annoys me most in situations like that is when someone asks you a direct question and they don't wait to hear the answer, and then they just keep talking. It drives me crazy.
Yep. And like I get it. Like I started YouTube so I could have people to talk to about comic books because I didn't have people I could talk to about comic books. Like I get that aspect of it. You can't do this. You can't go out in public and act like this. Like and right now it should be much easier to find people you can talk
Oh,
to.
good, you got ice. It's different than talking into a microphone by yourself because you know someone's going to listen to it later. Like,
Or you hope people listen to it later. But
well, sure, even if they don't, it's not the same thing.
yeah.
It's not. You're trying to put out. I mean, I almost.
While I was doing that, I wasn't then going to the mall and talking about Dragon Ball Z, hoping someone would speak with
And
me.
I bet a lot of those folks also, like, are trying to make YouTube videos also, and
I'm
they
sure
still
they
go
are.
out and do this.
I'm
and
sure
that's
they
really-
are.
I don't care if you have a following or anybody pays attention to you. If you want to make a video and like 5 people listen to whatever, who am I to judge?
Yeah, absolutely.
But to keep pretending like you're doing that. Well, we had this conversation already. All right, Vince, I would love to know what that tastes like with ice because I have only drank it warm.
You know, I'm sure it tastes interesting warm. I mean, it probably tastes like peach syrup. So, Here we go. I've not tasted this
I
yet.
think it tasted better than that, but whatever.
It does taste not bad.
Well, I'm not saying it does. I'm saying
Why don't you stop being a judgmental prick about what my friend has stocked in his liquor cabinet?
Yeah. You have a
tastes like peach
broader
syrup and whiskey.
To be fair, but I don't think it tastes like syrup, so deal with it. But I just feel like you have a better palate for alcohol because you have done a lot more exploring than I have.
Calling me an alcoholic?
I don't. No, I'm not. Not at all. I'm just saying that
I'm
An alcohol artist.
you have a better palate for it, and like you keep talking about like warm and chilled and stuff, and like when I buy a bottle of whiskey, I just drink it. Like I don't even think to put it in the fridge.
Some folks drink their stuff warm, and there are some things that taste better warm. I was gonna drink it warm. The back of the bottle recommended putting it on ice or mixing it, and I was like, all right, I'll put it on.
I
ice.
mean, beer and stuff I put it in the fridge, but usually whiskey I don't even think about it.
Wow, the whiskey is way more present than I thought it would be. Huh.
Yeah.
It is so on the nose, just bam, peach.
Yeah.
Like the whiskey is a faint afterthought, but then this tastes like somebody put a little bit of peach syrup into an Evan Williams. So it does have that charcoal filter, which if I'm saying that, if it's not charcoal, then I apologize, whatever. But I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
It's Corolla.
It's a Corolla. It is filtered through Corona.
It's Crayola.
That's what I was trying to say, and I messed it
It's
up.
filtered in through Crayola.
It is through crayons and crayons. Both. I mean, they put both together. And craisins and raisins.
Sounds delicious.
And
Oh, boy.
cranberries.
I could share. For some reason, craisins reminded me of a story. But anyway, I'll finish it. So
It's pretty good, right?
it's not bad. Now, putting it over the ice did make it more.
Can I try a sip of it that way? Because
Yeah.
I've never had it cold.
It thinned it a little bit
I've drank a little bit of this before.
because we were
If you'll
putting
notice this
warm
bo-
into cold.
And by the way, that bottle was all me. So I mean, I've had a little bit of that.
I had like a glass, I think. Or maybe I just tried that.
Upstairs, I have another bottle upstairs.
Oh, okay.
No, maybe you had some of that. I don't know.
It's better on ice.
Did you just
Yeah, it's better on ice.
swish it around like you brushed your teeth and you're like rinsing?
Yeah. So there's this thing that I learned. I don't know why. I was at a bar in Lawrence, drinking by myself because that's what I do. People are like, you want to go to the bar? I'm like, I just got back from there. So I went to see a band, and for whatever reason, I got out of the house by myself to go see a band, and I'm sitting at the bar, and I am tossing a few back. I'm having some whiskeys, and I found that it like ignites the flavor if you do this. Don't judge me. Actually, judge me if you want. I don't give a shit. Where you suck air over the top of the whiskey itself.
So you are on the opposite end of Stephen King. Where Stephen King's an alcoholic.
He just spits it at people.
Yeah. So Stephen King's an alcoholic, and he believes that the point of drinking alcohol is to get drunk, and he hates going out and eating in public and watching people sip at alcohol. Where it's in his autobiography or his memoirs
Yes.
I'm writing, where he's like he wants to go up to him like, if you're gonna drink it, get fucking drunk. What's the fucking point of just drinking it?
That sounds like a personal problem. Like, at that point, why are you drinking alcohol? Why
Well, he's
don't you
not.
just, like,
He's quit.
mainlining
Well,
drugs?
yeah, he quit.
Yeah.
He quit a long time ago. Yeah.
And he also did do drugs.
No, that's fair. That makes a lot of sense. So,
Stephen King is a more legitimate thing to be a fan of. That's a
But isn't
connected.
it-
Dark Tower is 1,000 times more legitimate thing. That's
really
7
ready
books.
to get past this.
Sure,
topic.
sure.
No, I just think the obvious argument to Stephen King is, well, like, but things taste different with alcohol, and maybe some people just like the taste of it. Like, I
Sure.
don't know why he wouldn't think of that and why it would bother him. Like,
Well, I'm not even saying I agree with him. I just thought that was it. We're like
Sure,
I was
sure.
like, what you just showed me, Stephen King would just like be so
just drive
angry
him
about.
crazy.
so I like doing that little sippy thing. And, because, I don't know.
Do people ever judge you? Do people at the bar be like, what are you doing?
You know, I did that once. And, no, I don't do it in front of people. I mean, I do it in front of people, but I don't do it in the presence of, like, company. And, not really, anyway. And I did that, and then I noticed in a a video of people tasting wine, which sounds like a weird thing to say, but
You know, wine tasting is bullshit. This has been proven.
no, that's true.
Those people
There's-
should not have jobs.
The
If they do, they should make about as much as I do.
They just
Uh,
say words.
the Adam Ruins Everything on wine tasting was fascinating.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It's so it's,
They just say words like
Netflix.
people have intentionally given them shitty wines and they cannot tell the difference. Like they have lied like that Penn and Teller thing with water, where
or
like
organic food.
yeah where they line up like alcohols and don't tell them that like it's because it's supposed to be a fancy tasting. They'll pretend that they're giving them like $150 bottle of
Oh, yeah,
wine,
okay.
and it's like a $6 bottle of wine. And they're like, "Oh, I can taste, I hint of like that kind of thing." Wine tasting is a
And if
100%
they really know their
bullshit.
stuff, they should know it's cheap wine and be like, "Oh, this
Right.
is bottom shelf."
And
bullshit.
if you can't, that's not a real job.
There's a podcast.
It's not.
I like
It
a
should
lot.
not be a career.
There's a podcast I like a lot called The Beerists, and Rubio, the guy who runs the podcast.
So, like, you're saying you could review wine, but doing the wine tasting thing is dumb.
No,
right?
I don't.
Based
Based on
you could review it.
based on my knowledge, you cannot tell the difference between expensive wine and cheap wine, or at least the people that say they cannot.
Well, you could probably
I
tell the
can't
difference.
really-
there's a difference between
one
like a
wine and
$5,
another.
or there should be a difference between a $5 and a $25.
But I bought shitty wine and I could tell the difference.
But is there a difference between a $25 and a $70?
But then again, what we're talking about is the difference between
You're saying what you get
knowing
in
what
three
you
figures.
like and knowing what you don't like. So
Okay.
there are different kinds of wine. So if I buy a Pinot Noir and I buy a Riesling, these two things are going to be radically different.
Well, and there's also
yeah, but
things.
you're talking about quality.
Well, but there's also
Between the
things
same
where,
kind of
where they
wine,
tell them
right?
it's a different kind of wine than it is. They do not correct them after they taste it.
Oh.
Like, no, it is a bullshit job.
Well, that's the thing is we're essentially talking about levels of dry.
For the record, I freaking love Riesling.
That's fair.
That's one of my favorites.
I like Moscato.
I haven't had a lot of that.
I like wedding wine.
Well, we had Riesling at our wedding.
So what you're talking about is like you like Cabernet.
And sometimes
Sauvignon
the ones
Blanc,
that
and it
come
comes
in
in a box.
bags, in boxes.
Yes,
yeah.
that's right.
You like
I-
Franzia.
I've not drank a lot of wine.
That's
I do like wine when I've had of it, but like I've almost only ever drank wine at social gatherings.
You can get
So-
those boxes at Trader Joe's.
So further supporting your point, here's this podcast where this guy he went and he found high end like I don't know how high end it would be for be expensive, but like no flavor, tasting it in different water blindfolded to see if he can tell the difference. Food coloring, and then he gets three glasses and puts the same kind of beer in it, and then basically makes one a little more brown and one real damn black, and or whatever. But so in other words, we have one that looks like a lager, one that looks like an amber ale, and one that looks like a black lager or black whatever. So he gives this to the people in there, and he says, "I want you to tell me they are unmarked. I'm not going to tell you anything about these beers. I just want you to tell me what styles these beers."
You said it was
are."
just water?
No, it was beer.
It was beer.
So
okay.
he
but it's the
tastes.
same beer.
It was all the
Nice.
same
Okay,
He has
beer.
altered the color of it.
And
I'm caught up now, sorry.
The food coloring, taste testing in water was to see if there was any flavor to the food coloring, to see if they could taste the difference between the food coloring.
The one I'm confused about is when you say in water.
Meaning, he taste tested the food coloring in water before he put it in the beer to see if there was any
He
flavor
tested-
to those.
Yeah.
He tested it.
Yeah.
Yes. So when he
And
he did
there wasn't
this-
any difference, so...
right. So he
the
blindfolded
test works.
himself
Sorry,
to
sorry,
see if he
I'm
could
with
tell
you
the
now.
difference between the waters.
I got you.
So now he does it with the beer.
Okay.
And
But for
everybody who all the guys in this group and
Sorry,
lady,
I'm an idiot, apparently.
they get all these things. They look at it like, well, that's very crisp, that's very light, and then they get to the next one. They say, well, there's lots of nut notes in there. And then
Yeah.
they get to the next one. They're like, well, this one's very malty. This one's very strong flavor. And then he says, now can I tell you? And he tells them what they did. He says, well, I think what this means is that what we do is bullshit because we don't know what the hell we're talking about.
Wow.
Granted, what I like about the beerists
But that's
is,
what you
is
should
the,
do.
But they
your
make
job right
3 to
there.
4 figures a year doing this profession.
right. So what I like about the beers, I mean, same thing with art critics, like
Oh, yes.
we're like not necessarily art critics, but art buyers, right? Where they're going out and they're looking for the premier stuff. But I'm like, everybody has a different taste.
There's an
And when
amazing episode of Always Sunny about that.
Yeah, it feels arbitrary. It feels like there aren't really any standards, right?
So at the end of the day, if I'm looking at peach whiskey and it's Evan Williams versus peach whiskey and it is the top tier whatever whiskey,
The top
that you
shelf,
know.
the 1%, the
Like,
1% shelf.
Pendleton is an upper shelf, not like it's only like $30.
Upper
so
middle shelf.
It's technically better than this, but it's also a technically different kind of
I
whiskey.
organize my
The people
alcohol
that
by tax
the people
bracket.
that buy there make like lower 6 figures, It's $100,000 a year.
So I find that stuff interesting. So I put a little water in this. And I find it more palatable. I feel like it's too strong. And not necessarily too alcoholic. But then again, I'm getting
It
to
is
the point-
too strong, absolutely.
And I think there are, to some extent, some things are designed for shots and mixed drinks, which that's exactly what this said.
That's a shot. Yeah, and that's what I bought it for.
Is
shots.
so I can't fault it for being what it is, but I am still waiting for the liqueured whiskey that I don't go. I'd rather just have whiskey, and it's not bad, but I feel like this might make a good fuzzy navel if you want to adapt the recipe right.
Like, I'll drink whiskey, but it's just, I don't just love the flavor of whiskey by itself, so I tend to need something else, which is why I buy stuff like that. Like, shoot me in the face, but like I like Fireball.
Yeah, I like Fireball too. I guess that's the only one that I'd really.
Well,
point
you
to.
like just cinnamon whiskey straight,
I
because we also did the Hellboy one, and that was really
And I
good.
liked
Did you
it
have
a
the
lot,
Hellboy
too.
one?
I like the Hellboy one a lot.
Yeah.
And I posted something about it on Facebook, and some YouTube viewers, obviously they're not viewing me anymore, sort of.
They might right now.
But,
They'll let you right
indeed,
now.
regularly anyway.
This will be on YouTube.
People that I know through Geekvolution, they posted stuff on there like, that sounds disgusting.
Well, sure.
You
Yeah.
know, and one person posted a thing of what's that guy's name? Jim Carrey going,
Well, and Fireball is one of those things that got too popular. So people will sometimes give you shit for liking Fireball because it's like the obvious thing that everybody drinks now.
But it became
in
the
my
bar
defense-
girl drink.
Okay, yeah, and
That's
of
the
cour-
bar girl drink.
And of course it did, because the only things I like
Are
are
girl
apparently
drinks.
chick drinks.
Yeah.
Whatever, I don't care. But in my defense, and you can speak to this, I liked Fireball before it was huge, because I was drinking it at the old bar we used to go to.
Can I
and
tell you
it
that
wasn't-
that's not true?
It wasn't huge yet.
It was huge before I moved here.
Was it?
Yeah, I was hearing about it. before I moved
Okay,
here.
all right, but in my defense, I didn't know about
No,
it, so I wasn't
no.
drinking it because it was
No, of
popular.
course not.
I prefer Hellwater.
I was drinking it because it was there.
I think Hellwater's better because it's kind of like
I
a little
think
bit of regular
I've
cinnamon.
had that.
That's the Hellboy one.
That's how.
Oh, is that okay? Yeah.
I think I also
They
prefer
were
the-
on par for me. I like them both. But
I feel like
which one did you like better?
I think I also prefer the Hellboy
Oh,
one.
okay.
But like it's negligible. Like I would drink either. I like both.
Yeah.
You should try it with water, and it's almost like nothing because the ice is melted now. It's just kind of a little peachy, a little whiskey. It's more watery, but
That's what happens when you dilute things.
That's true. The ice melted enough that now it's actually palatable, and I don't know. It's weird to me when you get something that's so sweet, but it's weird because it's very the whiskey is more present than the peach on the tongue, but it is also extremely sweet, sweeter than whiskey is. So granted, whiskey is also kind of sweet, but
Yeah.
so there's my review. I think it's worthwhile. I think it's worthwhile if you want to make a mixed drink out of it, but it'd probably be good in any kind of lighter colored soda, you know, Sprite, 7-Up, yada yada.
I would not recommend drinking that to excess
Yeah, no.
because I did that.
When it comes, he said from personal experience,
Yeah.
I don't recommend that. Hellwater, I wouldn't mind reviewing Hellwater.
We did that. We did Geekvolution on that.
We did.
I like Hell. Because it's a little
Is
bit of
the
cinnamon
second
and it's a lot of
wave
red hot.
out? Because it was like a limited release. Did they release the second?
I don't know. I know that if you go down to this liquor store, Missy's Discount Liquor,
Do they still have it?
they have like 6 or 7 bottles.
Oh, because
We should go get one.
Because we bought one and I bought another one and they were just out and I never checked back.
And they have Purtle mead. And that's the kind of mead that I think you should get. That's the kind of mead that they have at Renfest. It's super
Okay.
good.
We might try that.
It's like international award-winning mead.
But yeah, we should get that Hellboy whiskey again.
Yeah.
In
I
case
like
we
it.
don't get to drink it again.
Yeah.
I kept the bottle after I finished it.
I did not. I considered doing it. I would have, because when I originally heard about it, I saw like a picture that looked like the bottle was the Fist of Doom.
Oh, that would have been kicking.
And I
We
would
were
have kept
surprised
that.
it wasn't.
It's
That's what
just
we
a
wanted.
bottle with a Hellboy picture on it. I don't need to keep that.
Yeah, I don't know. I did anyway.
Sure.
But if they make the fist, oh man, I'd keep the shit out of it.
Vince is
Yeah.
also a Hellboy collector, so
Yeah.
I mean, I also have Dan Aykroyd's Crystal Head Vodka Skull, so
I've heard that's pretty good.
I mean, it tastes like nothing. So it does taste. It's good vodka because it tastes like nothing. So at the end of the day, it's fucking vodka. It's not like vodka. It tastes like nothing.
I do like vodka.
Why am I going to drink vodka? Good vodka tastes like nothing. Bad vodka tastes just this side of isopropyl. And
Vodka is the reason I didn't think I liked alcohol for a long time. Because I don't
Interesting.
like vodka.
Oh, okay.
because
For some reason, when I first start drinking, like this is me.
It mixes well with Mountain
This
Dew
is
and
me
stuff.
and like all my friends, right? And we're all just barely able to buy alcohol, or some of us are and the rest of us aren't. And like we don't know what we're doing. And like somehow we get like a hold of like coconut vodka. Or is it coconut rum? Maybe rum's what I don't like.
Coconut rum is a thing. Yeah.
That's
Coconut rum.
Malibu
Coconut rum is
coconut
the
rum.
most disgusting thing I've ever drank in my entire
It's
life.
pretty good in Pepsi. By the way, Fireball, pretty good in Dr. Pepper.
That makes
I might
sense.
have to try that. at
It's
some
super
point.
good in Dr.
That
Pepper.
makes sense.
Jaeger is pretty good in root beer.
I like Jaeger too. I haven't done that in a while. I've still got a little bit of that in the cabinet.
Man, went to see a football game, which is a thing that you're not going to hear me say again.
Yeah.
And
Seriously.
because a guy I know, a friend of mine, he invited me out to see this
Did you
game.
fall asleep?
No,
Did you eat hot dogs? Stay awake.
there's some fucking dude down the bar who
Was
kept,
it the Super Bowl? Because didn't that just happen where you had a Super
It was
Bowl game?
the Chiefs game before the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm at this
Somehow
bar.
somebody convinced Vince to spend $1,000 on a ticket to go to
God,
the Super Bowl.
every year the Super Bowl is the least viewed Super Bowl it's ever been. It's wonderful.
Yeah, but I bet it still costs $1 million to get in.
Sure.
It's insane to me.
I don't mean people in. I mean televised.
No, I know.
So
Yeah.
fewer and fewer people.
God, it's dying. It's finally dying.
Yeah.
Well, to some extent, I consider that stuff to be the circus, and like,
That's
if,
funny.
if well, not necessarily the circus as in elephants and clowns and stuff, but more
If
so
we let them
distract
hurt
the
each
masses.
other like Roman gladiators, that's different. They're so. I mean,
Like-
I know they're still getting like actually like brain damage, but like,
Yeah.
I forget
if I
the
could
exact
see
phrase.
some carnage, I might agree with you more. It's too safe for it to be that.
Well, essentially what I'm saying is that you give the society something to distract them from the things that actually matter, and sports is that.
I think sports used to be that, and I feel like that's always been the intellectual debate against sports by people that don't like sports is, well, you just watch the Roman Colosseum, but that's what all entertainment is. All entertainment is to distract you from the reality that you're looking at.
Yeah, and you want that to some degree. You know what I mean? Like you're asking for escapist stories, but
Yeah, you're asking for escapist
but you're
Punisher.
knocking-
If that's what somebody finds in football.
you're asking for escapist fiction, but you're knocking people for watching sports because it's
Oh, no,
the
I'm not knocking people
distraction.
for
Like,
watching
I don't
sports.
understand that.
I'm saying that when people judge me for not watching it, I'm like, well, dude, it's the circus you like.
My issue,
Oh, okay.
my issue is
Alright.
like sports is
That's
the
what it
nerdiest
is.
thing on the planet because it's all statistics and like
That's funny.
schematics and things, and they're like, yeah, but you know, like comic book things. I'm like, yeah, you're a fucking nerd. Fuck you.
Yeah. I'm like, you.
I'm sorry,
spray
dude, you-
painted your
you keep-
chest,
yeah,
and you wore
yeah.
a funny hat. How is that any
That is
different than me
way
wearing a
more.
cape?
That is way more embarrassing than anything anyone's ever worn to Comic Con.
So
Well,
there's
that's not probably true.
there was a guy that was
People who
following-
want some
On
embarrassing things.
par, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a thing.
But I mean, that's
for
an
Chiefs.
aspect of it that I think is ridiculous, and I think that there is and I think that there is a double standard with a lot of sports fans in giving geeks and nerds shit for the stuff that we like. But on the other hand, as continuing to be more of a basketball fan, I also get why people watch sports. Like I've gotten into college basketball and I enjoy it, and I think it's interesting to follow a team and see like how it changes and grows and develops over a season, and players having to be removed because of injuries and stuff, and then other people coming in and seeing like if the team's able to like come back together because of like people they lose, and it's not all statistics, you know what I mean? Like there's
I'm not-
actual human beings like competing at something.
But I'm not talking
and-
about the watching of it. I'm talking about the fandom. Of it.
Oh, okay.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like,
Sure, yeah.
and what's weird is how all of this has morphed. Or like it has gone away a little, because what I'm really reacting to is what it was like when I was 15. Because that's not what it's like today. The Marvel movies have morphed everything and changed everything.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, this is not what high school like what it was like when we were younger. Is not what it's like now. I had someone say that to me the other to both CJ and I the other day. He was like, "Well, you guys had it so easy because when I was a kid, I had to hide this stuff." And I was like, "We not fucking any easier than you did." Like that wasn't happening when I was a teenager. It wasn't all of a sudden cool to be reading comic books. Now it's in a weird middle ground where like the Marvel movies are definitely cool, and the comics aren't uncool. But it's not like everyone's doing it. Does that
Right.
make sense? You're not gonna get beat up for it, but yeah, no.
Vince, you know, part of the reason that because for years I have been threatening to follow basketball. I probably told you this before. That I keep thinking about like finally sitting and doing it, because I don't know if you know this, but like I played basketball when I was a kid.
Right on. I
And
played
it's
football
like-
when I was a kid.
I know you did, yeah. It's the only sport I ever cared about, and like I enjoy it as a spectacle. Like I think people that are good at it are impressive to watch. I think it's fun to watch them.
Basketball's fast paced. It is interesting to watch.
Yeah, that's what I like about it.
Football is slow as hell, and people don't seem to enjoy it when they do it. So
yeah, like you can see people having a good time playing basketball. But part of the reason that I'm kind of glad that I have finally picked a sport and I'm watching it, and this is weird coming from me because I'm usually I'm not into sports, but I've been watching a lot of basketball. I've been following KU all season, and part of it for me is it's the one place where I really can't escape from politics completely. There's nothing there at all, and it feels unchanged. If I watch a basketball game today, it feels like basketball I was watching in 1996. It's like it's in a. I mean, and I know there are things about the game that have changed, like rules and things, but the flavor of it, the tone of it, the way the games are called. And everything, like the people talking during the game, all of it, it's time locked. It's one of the only places where I feel like I can go back to when I was 12 years old. It feels like a time capsule.
But I wonder how you would have felt if you were watching football during all that kneeling stuff. Well, both sides were just going crazy about it.
That's part of why I watch college.
Sure.
Because that stuff is less likely to be there.
Sure.
When it's not professional.
And college makes much more sense to watch to me.
I think so too.
Do you know how much that? So obviously there was that
watching.
whole.
Have you ever watched professional basketball?
No.
At all?
It's straight up college.
When you look at it next to college, it looks like a bunch of fucking titans. Everybody's huge, and it looks like they should raise the goalpost by 2 feet because everybody's so much bigger. But anyway.
What was I saying?
I'm sorry. I'm not sure. But he just said a thing I wanted to jump back on.
It's not something about Twinkies. It was something about
Big Twinkie.
basketball.
I'm sorry.
Something. I don't even remember. Something about basketball.
So there was a guy.
Oh, wait.
He's got it.
Yes.
There he is.
So
He was hanging right there the whole time.
there was a whole thing about the merchandising the rights of the NCAA. You remember? Did you remember that? Where
vaguely
there aren't NCAA basketball video games anymore.
Right. Yeah, there used to be, and I missed that. I wish we still had that.
Yeah, the players don't because they weren't getting paid for it.
Right.
That's why those went away.
Yeah.
The last one that was made, we got in, is $100 video game.
Yeah, because they don't make them anymore.
Yeah, because they don't make them anymore.
Yeah, and you can't get action figures and stuff. And part of the reason I've been doing that too, Vince, is my son's gotten into it, so it's a thing that he and I do together. And God, if I could get him action figures of those guys. I bought him. He's not gonna see this, so I'll say this.
He's not a Patreon.
I bought Jason a KU basketball for his birthday that's signed by 5 of the players, and they're his favorite players.
Right.
And I'm excited to give him that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty slick.
Because it's the closest thing to merchandise I can get for
Well, but they weren't getting paid for that. That's why they stopped.
No, that's completely different.
It's because the players weren't.
Now that you say
paid.
that, yes, that should have happened. But just the selfish part of me is well, I wish there was a game with those players so that Jason can play with players he knows. That's all. That's all. Because Jason and I have been playing an NBA game together, and he's been loving that. But what if he knew the players? He would enjoy that a lot more. If he could play with
Just
those
get some
games.
really generic basketball players, write their names on the back of their jerseys.
Some of those you can name all your players, or at least in the hockey ones you could. I don't know if you can.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That'd be neat if you could do
But
that.
I also haven't played a hockey game since 2004. So.
But
What
you
a coincidence! It really doesn't translate to KU basketball.
Well, I was going to say, I was going to say, you can't play as that team at all. Even if you could, you know what I mean? Because it's professional. So you could name all the players, but you'd be playing as the Chicago Bulls with all the KU names. You couldn't. It would be a bigger deal.
And
for
Michael
Jason.
Jordan.
Yeah, it would be a bigger deal for Jason if he could play with if it looked like the team colors.
Sure,
and all that.
sure.
It's funny that you say Michael Jordan because they put out a game. The one we bought.
Is that the Spike Lee joint one?
No, there's one from 3 or 4 years ago that we bought because they're kind of all the same. So I just bought a cheap one and it's pretty good.
Sports games are like the Harry Potter of video games.
I bought one for
They're
$3.
all the same. There's nothing that impressive, and then on occasion they change.
I bought one for
That's a terrible
for
metaphor. It doesn't work
$3,
at all.
Funny.
and there's so much stuff to do in it. It's oh cool, I got this $3 video game. But anyway, it has. It does the throwback thing where it's got Michael Jordan in it, and in a lot of the popular players from the '90s. But it also has a story mode, which I've not played, with Michael B. Jordan.
That's hilarious.
Really?
And at first I thought, oh well, they probably just got him because he's popular and he's just voicing a character, and maybe he's doing that. But in the Street Ball mode, you can play as Michael B. Jordan, like the actor.
Interesting.
So you can do Michael B. Jordan versus Michael Jordan, and it's so weird.
Because there was one they put out that was directed by Spike Lee.
Yeah, and I don't think
That
that's
was
this one.
well, no, because that one was you played the career of Michael Jordan.
Oh, well, I got that
didn't
one.
know
Actually, that
there
was
was one
2011.
with Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, I
That's
actually
interesting.
I bought that when I worked at GameStop, and it's cool. I forgot that was Spike Lee, right? But yeah, I played that. It's cool.
Michael B. Jordan, one of the best like working actors today.
Yeah, because Jason was like, I'm playing as Michael B. Jordan. I was like, oh, you're playing as the character. He goes, no, come look at this, Dad. It's Michael B. Jordan. And I was like, that makes no sense. He's not a basketball player. What is he doing in this NBA game?
Wouldn't it be amazing though? Wouldn't it be amazing though?
If there were other people in there, sure, he's the only actor in a game with nothing but professional players that make millions of dollars.
But wouldn't it be amazing if in the reality of that video game, he's also a famous basketball player, and so like part of the tension and drama of playing a game is that like I've got to we can't go into overtime because I have to go shoot Black Panther.
That would be amazing.
The stakes are high.
The other thing that's crazy about NBA, or why it's not as interesting, to watch versus NCAA for me, is there's an attitude thing with that where, like, you know you're watching guys that are making millions of dollars, and it's hard to articulate, but it feels like watching guys that are making millions of dollars to play basketball.
Yeah.
It's like watching squash.
You know,
It's just like that.
that's really weird that you would say that because I don't understand.
Well, anyway, we were going to go for an hour, and we've gone for almost 2 hours. So you're welcome, folks. Although this last hour, I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't care about anything we've been talking about.
I think my Harry Potter thing is in that last hour, so we'll at least get
No, I think
comments
it's
about
right
that.
before that. It's
Is it
right
before
up
that?
into that hour, and
Oh.
then
Yeah, it was
at
right
about
at the end.
Oh, because I
106.
finished it. I finish it, and then you.
About
And then we give you
106,
the
we get
alcohol.
to it. So this
Or
last
you grab
hour
the alcohol.
has been two things that no one on Geekvolution cares about:
Sports and alcohol.
beer and sport, or alcohol and sports. Yeah,
You know, just to cap off this whole sports thing.
yeah, sure.
People seem to get offended about, like, if you joke about sports even. So, it's
People
weird.
take it way too seriously.
So
What drove me crazy when I worked at the mortuary is if KU lost, everyone's in a bad mood all day the next day. It drives me insane. Like, I'm following it. I have like I'm invested in it now. I'm not like all pissed off when my team loses like for the rest of the day. Not any more than I am when a Star Trek episode sucks. Like it's the same thing.
Yep.
And then you go about your day.
And then I go about my day. But anyway, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
There was a guy who was following me around for work, and it was on Red Friday. And since I don't actually follow football, I didn't think to wear red that day.
I don't even know what Red Friday is.
I guess it's Chiefs.
It's a Chiefs thing on
I
game
didn't know
days.
either.
Hey,
Red
guess
Friday.
what? No, the Chiefs from Kansas City. Get the fuck out of here with your city pride. They're not even from Kansas. Fuck
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And
And to be fair, that is sometimes true in college too. I mean, like
I don't like that we act like it's in any way a regional pride thing.
yeah.
If it's a regional pride thing, don't trade teams. Everyone has to come from the town that we're doing.
I don't get it. It's so arbitrary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Anyway.
so you're supposed to wear red on Red Friday. So the guy that was following me around for work, he wore red, and every patient that we stopped at, he said, "Well, Vince, he's not wearing his red." And every time he said it, I said some d-baggy thing back. and so I was wearing a green shirt, and he's like,
You don't have to censor yourself. You're on After Dark.
Yeah, you can say douchebag.
you know what? I've not said douchebag in a very long time. It's always been d-bag. I don't know why. It comes out naturally. But
Oh well, that's fine.
Sure.
Do what comes naturally. That's
that's fair.
within reason.
So I'm wearing a green shirt, and he says, Vince, he's not wearing red. And I said, this isn't red? Looks red to me. And so apparently nobody likes my colorblind joke. And my very next joke was, it like, people seemed shocked. He said, Vince, he's not wearing his red. It's Red Friday, he's not wearing his red. And I said, not a communist. And he went,
That's hilarious.
and I was like, well, first of all, I don't understand why you seem offended. And secondly,
He's both a sports fan and a communist.
like technically, if we're going by Chiefs,
Mutually exclusive.
No.
if Chiefs are a reference to Native Americans and Native Americans having a political structure that is technically communism, my joke has layers to it. So you should be appreciating this.
But not all Native Americans, because Native Americans were many different tribes.
That's true. I mean,
You're generalizing, and that's offensive.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
Vince, where my mind went, I think what I would have said is, well, I thought it counted because I thought we were going for Christmas colors.
it's to Jesus.
There's this guy, he used to be on SNL.
Some Native American tribes had communist structures. Sometimes qualifiers become difficult.
There's this guy, I forget what his name is, but he's done a couple comedies. He used to be on SNL. He's an older, angry gentleman. Because those are the only comedians I watch. Except for Gary Goldman, who I showed you. Which, by the way, the one I tried to show you originally is on Amazon.
Can we watch it now?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Ooh, let's do that sometime soon.
Yeah.
I would like to see that because I like the one you showed me.
Yeah. Anyways, so I forget what this guy's name is, but he has. I watched both of his stamp specials I found. Where one of them is the history of the world. Like it's a stamp special, but he is giving you the history of the world. The other one's just New York. It's the
Did he
history of
finally
New York.
make part 2?
Yeah. So he's giving you the history of New York, and at the end of it, he starts to tell some typical New York joke where it's like so a Jew and a Jew and a priest walk into a bar, and then he starts creating qualifiers where he's like, well, it's 2018 now, like maybe we shouldn't. So like, let's say it's someone of a nondescript religion and nondescript race, and then like he just keeps putting all these qualifiers, so it offends no one. And he's like, comedy should never punch down, which is someone that's never told a joke told me once, and and so he tells the entire joke with all the qualifiers. He's like, huh. Maybe comedy's not funny if you have to put in a bunch of qualifiers. Like that's like what he's been building, because history of New York is super racially charged. But like he gets the end of it. Like his whole point is like, yeah, if you have to keep apologizing for every single thing you say, it's not funny. Huh. You should watch it. It's good. I think you'd like him.
Who is this?
I don't remember.
I like how the punchline of that whole thing is, this is why what I said is not funny.
Yeah.
There was a guy who did a history lesson. The guy who did Arliss. The history lesson was very interesting. Like he just.
Isn't Arliss the show starring Knox from the guy? Yeah. Okay.
I should watch that just
So
because
I
I've
don't
never
know
seen
if
him
this
in
is the same thing, but it's a very good
anything
comedy
else.
show.
No, it's not the same thing.
I've never seen him in anything else.
Although he has a whole TV show that ran for like 9 seasons on HBO called Arliss.
He was
Have you ever seen it? Is it any good?
I've never seen it.
Okay.
And also, you can't get it
he was
because
an
they only
agent?
have like a best of release. There's no like season box
Well,
sets.
I mean, I'd like to sample it because I liked him in '89. I'd like to see what he's like in other things.
He was. I think it's a show about a sports agent.
Okay.
Jerry Maguire's amazing.
Well, I mean, Arliss is a show about a sports agent.
No, but I'm saying that doesn't immediately make me be like, well, because the sports agent side of Jerry Maguire is the good half of Jerry Maguire. The love story is real contrived and like this is paint by numbers. But Jerry Maguire's a great movie because of all the sports agent stuff.
Cherry Maguire is my stripper name.
Cherry Maguire.
You know, I'm glad we went for a whole 2 hours just because we would have never had that on film. And I think that's important. Well, are you guys cool if we go ahead and wrap up?
Sure.
Thanks a lot for watching, folks. We sure appreciate it. And once again, thanks everybody for supporting the channel. Vince, it was so
I wish
so
this was
happy.
like an anniversary episode.
It was so great to have
25
you
or
back.
50 or something, where we could have a reason for it to be double sized.
Yeah, the only thing I really have is I'm trying to get Vince on more things because it's the 10th anniversary of the channel, but it's not a special number of this show. Yeah, that's true. But Vince, come back anytime, man. We sure appreciate having you. And it was a lot of fun and hilarious, even if nobody cares about the last hour.
That's funny.
And I don't care about alcohol or sports.
Yeah.
I am the
you
representative of the
But you
audience.
sure had plenty to say.
I don't care about sports a whole.
I don't like Alka Sports.
Alka Sports. It helps my tummy calm down. Alka Sports.
Yeah, it just they come in little tablets that
What's
you put in
that,
your water and then they fizz.
What's that? It's the Dimitri Martin joke where he's like, I'm tired of people saying that they're chocoholics because there's no such thing as chocohol. They don't know how words work.
That drives me crazy. And like workaholics, it's like, no, we need to come up with a different suffix. Like,
Because holics is not it's the ix. It'd be work-ix. You'd be a work-ix.
yeah, I mean, it sounds dumb. You got
chocolate
so you got to come up
or
with something else
choc-ix.
entirely. Yeah.
I'm a work addict. There we go. Problem
Yeah,
solved.
just put addict on anything that's not long enough. If it's 3 syllables, you can say ick. If it's less than 3 syllables, addict.
I'm
You're
a chocolate
done.
addict.
Chocolate addict. is
Chocolate
good
addict.
enough.
I like it. We're
Yeah.
done. You're not a chocoholic, you're a chocolate addict.
We're done. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, folks. I'm Gavin Logan.
All right.
See you later, folks.